He was only 29 years old that year. At that moment, he realized how alone he felt. No one was there to accompany him at his low point. His friends and girlfriend left him years ago. His mother was a gambling addict who only called him whenever she needed money. He was all alone with only 10 years left to live. He started despairing while he drove his car. When a call from his mother asking for money came, he lost it and almost crashed into a mother and daughter duo who was crossing the street. Luckily for them, he swerved and avoided them. Unfortunately for him, he died as his car crashed into an electric pole. At the moment of his death, he realized what he wanted all along was to live peacefully. Ironically, the first peaceful moment he ever had was in death. Currently, Akira wakes up in a dark place where a pop-up message says he gets to reincarnate in a new world. But before he does that, he must choose who will be his mother in his next life. 5 options were laid out for him. One is Ursel Stormheim. If he chooses her as his mother, he will live a life of royalty. The other options are Miltoria Veneris, a life of a millionaire, Fatima Yggdrasil, a life of an immortal, and the 4th option is Kaita Gardenberg, the life of the Sword Saint. If he chooses any of the women between the 4, he'll be guaranteed wealth and fame right from the get-go. However, Akira chooses neither of the 4. Before his death, he realized success isn't what he wanted. What he wants is to live a life of peace where he can relax and be normal. So, he chooses Diva Roland, a commoner who owns a magic shop. Thus begins the life of Akira Rainford, the son of a magic shop owner. 7 years later, at Stormheim, the royal capital, we see Rainford Magic Shop peacefully conducting its business. Akira is currently helping his mother, Diva Rainford, with the shop. In the middle of that, they have this adorable moment of mother and son where Akira's father, Carl Rainford, also joins in, showing us the perfect example of a happy family. In Akira's mind, he vows to protect this place he calls home with the lessons he acquired from his past life. He'll make sure no one will destroy this happy life of his. However, Akira has one obstacle to this happiness, Malaria, aka Arya, their elf maid. Arya is the one in charge of teaching him. From sword classes to magic lessons, Arya strictly trains him without any consideration of him being a kid. It always ends up with him getting his snacks confiscated because of his poor results. Akira even concludes that Arya hates him because she's secretly in love with his father. That night, Arya gives Akira an assignment regarding healing scrolls. What the family doesn't know is that Akira is actually a genius. Due to his talent at drawing mangas in his past life, it actually became a cheat skill in his current lifetime. Usually, scrolls are made up by writing and it takes hours to do it, but with his drawings, he can get the same effect in just a little time. Although he might not have talent in sword fighting and magic, his innate talent in drawing makes him powerful. He experimented with his skills and found out that he can do even more amazing stuff with it, such as summoning anything he wants as long as he can draw it on the magic circle he made. It's basically omnipotent. Although his power is revolutionary, Akira decides to hide it. In this life, he wants to lay low and live happily with his family. The next day, Arya asks Akira to redo the scroll he made right in front of her. She believes Akira must have cheated because he was able to do it so perfectly when she knew he slept most of the night. Akira erupts in rage and screams at her that his life would be better if she was gone. He then runs to the lake where he usually goes when he's sad and tries to cool off. He realizes he overreacted and tries to go back to apologize, but Arya suddenly appears and tackles him to the ground. Akira looks over at her and sees her heavily injured. It is only then that he realizes a basilisk dragon has appeared to attack them. The dragon attacks again, but Arya is able to push Akira away. However, she gets caught. She yells to Akira to run while she stops the dragon by becoming its bait. Akira cries as he asks why she's doing this for him when she hates him. Arya calls him stupid for thinking that when she treats him as her family. Arya shouts at him to run away again, but he decides to save her. Even though she may be strict, she's always been beside him and protecting him like this. Akira decides to include Arya as one of the places that he wants to protect, so he reveals his power. He uses his canvas skill where a blank magic circle appears and then draws the same basilisk dragon to summon it. He almost lost consciousness because of the enormity of the skill, but he perseveres and defeats the dragon. He collapses afterwards and the dragon he drew also disappears. She always questioned how Akira has his blood and yet has no talent for magic. Now she realizes that he actually has this kind of hidden power. Arya concludes that this boy is truly Carl and Diva's child. Now that Arya knows about Akira's hidden skill, will there be a change in their relationship? Let's find out in this chapter, shall we? 3 days pass before Akira regains consciousness. Seeing his mother crying for him and his dad out hunting for some drain bat, Akira quickly realizes that Arya hid what happened and made up another excuse why he was unconscious for so long. His father, Carl, arrives back in devastation with no news of the drain bat. However, as soon as he sees Akira awake, he exclaims in relief and quickly falls asleep while standing. Apparently, he and Diva had no rest since Akira collapsed. After that eventful moment, night comes and we see Akira lying on his bed, panting. he still hasn't completely recovered from the fight. When a person in that world exhausts his magic power to zero, it can cause death. It's the same concept as dying of starvation. That's why Akira is so weak at the moment. Then suddenly, Arya appears, wearing only a negligee. She sits on Akira's bed and checks his temperature. He burns up even more after seeing such an alluring sight. Arya stands up and tries to call for Diva, but Akira stops her. He explains how he didn't want to trouble his mother even more. Seeing his sincerity, Arya concedes. Instead, she lies down and embraces him. She mentions how his body hasn't adapted yet to the elixir he took, so she'll accompany him tonight and help him circulate his magic. Akira's heart starts beating faster. He has never seen Arya other than an enemy before, but now, in her embrace, he feels warmth. Akira apologizes to Arya, telling her he knows she's in love with his father. However, Arya reveals she never had any feelings for Karl, other than as a family. Instead, she had always been thinking of becoming Akira's. Before Akira can even talk, Arya continues telling him how his summoning power is unique in this world. As long as he trains hard, he'll become powerful. If the kingdom finds out about his existence, he's guaranteed fame, fortune, and status. Akira panics when she asks why he has been hiding his power all this time. He quickly tells her how he doesn't want to be separated from his family and that his ultimate dream is to inherit the magic store when he grows up. Akira begs her not to tell anyone about his power, but Arya as a servant has to tell his parents about it. When Akira has given up on begging her, Arya proposes to keep his secret as long as she'll become his woman. Akira is confused and asks what she means about becoming his woman. Arya explains, and it's basically becoming his life partner. Akira quickly assumes that Arya must be saying this to make him back out, so instead of refusing, he accepts her offer. As long as she keeps his secret, he'll marry her once he becomes an adult. The promise concludes with them doing a pinky swear. The next day, Akira shows Arya how he does his skill. She becomes more surprised when he reveals he didn't need contracts to summon monsters. This puts Akira's power on a whole different level that defies the laws of this world. Akira turns to see her reaction, but is surprised to see her scary glare. He panics, thinking he revealed too much, but instead of anger, Arya worries over him. She tells him his power is not of a summoner, but something entirely different. She asks him to not show his powers to anybody until she understands what his power really is. Akira smiles and quickly accepts, since this is what he wanted anyway. The next thing we know, Arya is training Akira in swordsmanship, and she's even stricter than before. Akira can't complain since they promise to continue like usual. After the training, Akira takes a break by lying down in the shade. He's so exhausted after that lesson, he can barely even move. Luckily, he can make his own healing elixir. He takes out a blank scroll paper and draws the potion. After drinking it, he completely recovers his health and magic power. Don't underestimate this though. The elixir he made is actually extremely rare to find. Most people can't even find one in a lifetime. But because of his cheat power, he can create this ultra rare potion as many times as he wants. Truly omnipotent, I say. Akira then tries to split a log using the sword. He wants to find out if the elixir truly amplified his magic power to the maximum limit. However, he can't even slice the log up to the midpoint. Akira continues to split the log, when a girl with red mid-length hair suddenly appears and asks him about the scroll he did earlier. Akira freezes in panic. Mysterious girl gets friendly and tries to ask Akira about the potion he retrieved from the scroll, but Akira quickly changes the subject. They then find out that they were both the same age. The girl apologizes for calling Akira little kid and tries to teach Akira how to use the sword correctly. She even showcases her amazing sword abilities. Seeing Akira's amazed expression, the kid introduces himself as Metis Blindstad, the son of Count Blindstad, who recently became the Lord of Stormheim. Yes, that's right, this kid is actually a boy. Akira is shocked to learn that Metis is actually a girl when he looks so pretty. Metis doesn't take offense when being mistaken as a girl. Instead, he becomes happy since he has made his first friend in the city. They promise to meet each other again tomorrow, where Metis will teach Akira sword fighting, while Akira tells Metis about the city. In the next scene, we are bombarded with a nosebleed situation. Akira is currently bathing with Arya in a small barrel, and both are completely naked. Akira tries to escape, especially when he has the mentality of an adult, but Arya stops him. He can only go once he can count to 100. Akira complains about being treated like a kid, but Arya just replies that he is one. Well, that ain't wrong. He is 7 years old in that world. Anyway, they start talking about a book Arya gave him. It's about summoning magic and the like. We learn that it's impossible to summon inorganic objects, things that don't have souls since you can't make contact with them. This only confirms how strong Akira's abilities are, since he can summon anything, be it living or dead. Arya then suggests Akira to summon something harder next time, but he has to promise never to summon anything without her presence. If he were to summon a difficult being and drain his magic power, there's a huge possibility he'll die. Akira agrees since he knows his limit. Although his skill is omnipotent, it is true that his magic power is lacking. Their topic then changes to the Red Eye hero. It's said that the goddess gave birth to a human who is made for war. With great swordsmanship and unlimited magic power, he is basically the strongest human in existence. And the trademark of this god of war is his red eyes, the symbol of the goddess's night. The storytelling ends when Diva comes in and joins the bath, naked. Akira tries to flee again, but fails. After their bath, Karl comes back after a tiring meeting with the Merchant Guild. He then warns Akira not to go to any secluded places since an evil cult is currently kidnapping children to use as sacrifices. The next day, we see Akira clashing swords with Metis in the place they first met. Akira quickly concedes defeat since their level of skills is just way too different. Metis then suggests to explore the city, but Akira rejects it and mentions the current kidnapping cases by the evil cult. He tries to persuade Metis to just go home and not let their parents worry about them. Besides, they aren't learning swordsmanship to put themselves in danger like that. However, Metis gets bothered. He tells Akira how he has always been taught that the strong have responsibilities to protect the weak. Since some are born talented, they should use those talents and not let them go to waste. This only triggers Akira's past painful memories. He objects to Metis' thinking and tries to reason that all is for nothing if the strong die because of it. Metis becomes even more upset and tries to leave. Akira tries to stop him, but Metis suddenly disappears before his eyes. He then smells a sweet scent and collapses. Both are then kidnapped and sent into a prison cell with all the other abducted kids. Akira is the first one to wake up and realize their current situation. After a moment, Metis also wakes up and questions where they are. Akira deduces that they were probably at the cult's hideout, which is somewhere underground. If he uses his magic to summon a golem, there's a chance he'll bury them alive. Akira tries to think of a way to use his abilities without getting caught, when Metis declares his plan to fight the cult head-on. Akira tries to reason with him since they don't even have weapons to protect themselves, when Metis suddenly reveals his strong flame magic. When Akira sees his left eye turning crimson, he realizes then that Metis is actually the legendary Red Eye hero. With Metis revealed as the hero, Akira finds hope in escaping without using his powers. Metis uses his fire magic to melt the prison bars and succeeds in getting out. However, before they could run, a few cult members arrive. They were wearing robes with masks shaped like a bird's beak. They run towards Akira and Metis and try to attack them with the flame bullets, but Metis easily deflects it with his own flame power. The cult members realize a second too late that Metis is actually the god of war. They collapse after Metis attacks them with his powerful magic. Seeing the situation turn in their favor, Akira exclaims happily that they can use this chance to escape, while at the same time, Metis also exclaims that they should try to defeat the boss. With both having different plans, the situation turns to a standstill. On the other hand, back at Akira's home, we see Arya comforting the worried Diva. Diva cries when she thinks of the possibility of Akira never coming back. Arya reassures her he will, especially since she knows how wise Akira actually is. Back to the situation at hand, Akira and Metis argue about their plan of action. Akira wanted to escape, while Metis wanted to defeat the cult right there and then. Akira tries to reason with Metis, saying how they shouldn't blindly charge at the enemy when they don't even know the current situation. They don't even know how many members there are. It's better for them to escape now and ask the adult for help. However, Metis also rebuts. If only the two of them escape, what will happen to the other kids they left behind? If they escape now, they will only endanger the other kids by alerting the cult members. The cult will either change their location or kill the kids even sooner than expected. Akira is silenced. He knows that the chances of that happening are high. He is torn between integrity and life. In the end, he agrees with Metis' reasoning, making Metis happy. However, Akira tries to ask Metis to think it over again, especially since if they lost, not only will the children die, but they will as well. The scene shifts over to another area where a stone platform is seen in the middle. A bunch of kids lie on top of that platform, their souls being sucked by some kind of light. After a moment, we then see a woman wearing a different outfit than the rest. This woman is probably the leader of the evil cult. The chapter ends with the woman looking at the light in shivering anticipation. In the evil cult's hideout, the prison cell brims with tension. This is because Metis and Akira are at odds with one another. Metis wants to beat the cult's boss and save the other children, while Akira wants to escape and just tell the adults about the hideout. Metis Blindstard is the son of Count Blindstard, who recently became the Lord of Stormheim. He had a scarf around his neck and shoulder-length hair. He is 7 years old, yes, but he is a very talented swordsman and a pyro magician. Just like Metis, Akira is also 7 years old. He is the son of Karl and Diva Rainford, who are the owners of Rainford Magic Shop. Unlike Metis though, he is awful at sword fights. However, he gets his magic by drawing what he wants and summoning them to life. One is a noble while the other is a commoner. Perhaps this is the reason why their beliefs are on the opposite sides of the spectrum. Due to this, they continue to clash and argue. Metis tells Akira that he wouldn't mind betting his life on whatever he believes in. Even with a different opinion on the matter, he also sympathizes with Akira. He does not want Akira and the other children to get in danger, but Metis still wants to defeat the evil cult even if it means he's going to do it alone. So, he runs away from Akira. Akira is perplexed. For him, going against the cult alone is much more dangerous, so he rushes after Metis to stop him. As they run, they see the sea outside. Both are probably on the northern coast, which is still not far away from the city. Both of them also realize that they are inside a huge limestone cave. Looking down, Akira sees a suspicious statue and an altar. These bring about an unsettling feeling for Akira. For a moment, he doubts if his intuition is wrong. Suddenly, Metis ducks his head down. He tells Akira to crouch down along with him. Then, they hide behind the huge rock and begin to examine the happenings beneath them. On the ground, the cult members are wearing old cloaks and masks with passive bird-like beaks. They are carrying two children, a girl and a boy, who are both asleep on a stretcher. Metis is furious. His eyes are wide open, and his teeth are gritting. He can't contain his anger. He stands up and starts cursing them. He tells them to stop, to release the children, and then to repent to the goddess. Otherwise, he will take the goddess's place and he will give the judgment himself. Metis' burst of emotion has caught the attention of everyone, especially that of the cult members below them. Akira now panics. Suddenly, a woman appears behind them. She's wearing a cloak and a dress. Aside from this, she also has a mask on. But unlike the other cult members, hers is simple. It is only a cloth with an eye at the center. Keramis greets them and asks why they are so serious. She even calls them little kittens. Hearing her startles both of them. Metis turns to face her. Stealthily, he starts creating a ball of fire magic on her hand. Then, he throws it towards the masked woman. This results in an explosion, causing smoke and debris to be everywhere. Metis then catches Akira in his arms. Fortunately, they both land safely on the ground. Metis instructs Akira to take care of the other kids while he fights off the cult members. Metis faces the cult members. His left eye turns crimson red, which bewilders Akira. Speedily, Metis attacks a cult member with his fireball. With his other hand, he unsheaths his sword. Then, as if in a ballroom, he gracefully dances with his sword. Swinging his sword, he cuts, slices, and slashes the enemies. The remaining cult members are now in fear. They want Keramis' help. Akira is still on his knees, his mouth wide open because of disbelief. He can't fathom that Metis can actually take on all of the cult members all on his own. Metis, on the other hand, is not yet done. He challenges Keramis to a one-on-one fight. This worries Akira. He just wants Metis to stop pretending to be a hero. He tells him that since they have already found a way out, they should just escape and seek help. Metis objects to his idea. He will not show his back to the enemy. He wants to show Akira that the right beliefs will always win. He also informs Keramis that he will not forgive her for making those children suffer. Keramis laughs. His declaration merely amuses her. She mockingly requests for Metis to show his so-called justice. Without warning, a big magic circle appears. It is bright and it has a pentagon in the middle of it. Keramis smiles. She confesses that she wants to crush Metis' beliefs. She then orders a being to come out, a being who will nullify Metis' sword and fire magic. This someone is hailed as a hero killer, a stone golem. The golem is humongous. It is made, of course, of big stones. Furthermore, it towers above everyone else in the cave. Both of them are in shock. They realize that apparently the enemy leader Keramis is also a summoner. Seeing the summoned golem, Akira remembers Arya's discussion about summoners. Arya is Akira's elf, guardian / maid. She tells him before that summoners, especially those of Keramis' caliber, are rare. This alarms Akira. He can't believe that they have stumbled upon such a formidable enemy. He's worried about Metis, so he turns his head towards him. He only then notices Metis' ecstatic expression. Metis assures Akira that he has a way to deal with their situation. He explains that yes, a golem is not affected by fire magic, but he further adds that he just needs to pump his fire magic up a notch. Then he musters his fireball in his hands. The fireball emits a strong gush of air around Metis and Akira. It is so strong that Akira has to cover his face with his arm. Metis begins chanting a magical spell that surpasses all other fire magic. All of a sudden, a burst of flame materializes and explodes. The flame threatens to devour everything in its way. Smoke and blaze now reveal a Gehenna Phoenix. Akira can't help being impressed. However, the golem quickly attacks the bird. It disintegrates before their eyes. Their attack leaves an incredulous imprint on Akira. The huge stone golem grabs Metis upright by the hands. He is clearly hurt. He has scratches all over his body, blood dripping from his mouth. All of this gratifies Keramis. She expects the firebird to incinerate her golem, but the opposite happens. She wants Metis to beg for forgiveness. However, Metis is adamant. He clenches his teeth. Next, he tells Keramis that he will never apologize to a heretic like her. Akira recognizes that Metis is now in trouble. He concludes that it is not the right time to be stubborn. He ought to do something. So, he decides that he must apologize on Metis' behalf. He asks Keramis to spare his friend's life. Unanticipatedly, the golem with his big stone arm draws back and punches Metis in the face. The force whips his head back, and blood splatters everywhere. Witnessing the abuse on Metis, Akira is horrified. Karamis asks Metis if he still does not want to apologize. She adds that he should stop trying to put on a brave front. She continues to ask him if he still hasn't regretted his previous showcase of stupid bravery. With its other hand, the golem once again attacks Metis. However, this time it hits him on the legs. He cries out in pain. Meanwhile, Akira urges Karamis to drop her cool actions against the child. Then, he once again begs Metis to apologize. With tears in his eyes and breathless due to pain and exhaustion, Metis replies that he won't apologize, nor does he regret his actions, especially against scum like her. Karamis once again refers to Metis as a little kitten. Then she tells him that he is still in need of some more discipline. So, she orders the golem to hit Metis one more time in the face. She tells him that she understands. She gets that Metis' precious conviction will not fold, even if he's hurt. In addition, she informs him that adults like them have lots of different ways of dealing with troublesome kids like Metis. An example of this is to punish the bad kid's friend instead. Smiling, she adds that such an outcome will not be possible only if Metis would have been a good kid. Karamis then advises him to ingrain this in his memory, the death of his precious friend because of him. The stone golem raises his other hand to strike Akira. Akira knows that he must not hesitate and that he should summon his own golem as well. However, Metis unexpectedly shouts a huge apology. This shocks Akira. Metis continues admitting that he was in the wrong. Metis begs Karamis to not hurt Akira. Aside from this, he also asks Akira for forgiveness. Head bowed down and tears falling, he admits that he was cocky. He urges Akira to run away. He further advises Akira to forget about him and just save himself. He then pleads to Karamis to let Akira go, which makes Karamis grin. She knows that she has found Metis' weakness. This warms Akira's heart. Looking at Metis, he realizes that he is not crying because he fears death. Instead, Metis will put behind his ideals to ensure that a powerless person like Akira does not get hurt. Akira looks back to his previous life. He is Akira Kamishiro. He is a very successful manga writer who is very strict and very rude to his employees and even to his friends. He then compares his old self to Metis. He laments that if only he were more like him in his previous life. If only he were someone who carried responsibilities and assisted people for the success of everyone. Instead, his way back then was to hurt people around him. It was because, at that time, he thought it was the correct way. He ascertains that Metis is different from the old him. Metis is someone who would throw his life away for his pride. And at the same time, he would also throw that pride away if it meant saving someone like Akira. He recognizes that this is the way of a true noble. Akira tells Metis that it is now okay for him to stop apologizing. He reassures him that he is not in the wrong. Furthermore, he adds that power is not something that is used to hurt people. True power is not something you use for yourself, but it is instead used to help out and protect those in need. Finally, Akira decides that he wants to become someone like Metis, so he waves his hands and he draws. Akira creates a magic circle in the form of a square, serving as the panel for his drawings. The circle catches Karamis and Metis' attention, piquing their curiosity about what Akira is up to. Akira starts doubting himself. Will his magic power last? He knows there are no guarantees. He must save Metis or it will be the end of them both. Days before, he drew and magically created a rare elixir that would increase his HP, hit point/health. The elixir is known to be rare, but with his talent, Akira is and will be able to replicate it numerous times. He expects that the elixir he has been drinking will sustain him long enough to defeat Karamis' golem. So, Akira draws and summons his own golem. He vows to surpass the intermediate level and in turn summons an advanced golem. It is humongous for its size. Karamis stares in disbelief. She does not expect this from Akira, a small child. Similarly, Metis is also in awe. He too does not envision Akira as a summoner. Just then, Akira's hands begin to quiver, which causes him to panic. He is in trouble. He now feels the effect of magic deficiency. Even though he has already taken many elixirs and increased his magic, it is still not enough. Akira then remembers Arya's words. Arya is his elf guardian. She tells him that if he carelessly summons a high-level monster by himself, he will run out of magic, and afterwards, he will die. With the current situation he is in, he recalls his past life as a manga creator. In that traumatic memory, he is scolded by his superior for creating subpar work. He has not slept for 3 days, hence he submits inferior drawings. Akira's superior advises him that he just needs to utilize the character and charm of the original work. He only needs to refine the originals with a more cartoon-like style. With his superior's suggestion in mind, Akira decides to be a professional. It does not matter if he does not have enough magical energy. The canvas is his field, his domain. He cannot and will not do any shoddy work. He now has the design in his mind. Then he simplifies it. He takes the original characteristics and modifies them just a little so that the design is preserved. After this, he begins to summon his golem. With Akira's golem summoning, the light shines brighter than before. This shakes Karamis, so before the summoning of Akira's golem is complete, she hurriedly attacks and smashes it to pieces. There is a loud explosion. Rocks and dust are everywhere, and Metis shouts in distress. Karamis sighs in relief. She admits that Akira's golem was a tough opponent, and she feels scared. As the dust subsides and settles, Akira starts to stand. He is almost knocked out, but he barely manages to save his life. On the other hand, Metis stares at him in relief. While fending off Karamis' attack earlier, Akira has a sudden idea. He is able to manipulate and recreate his golem into something that his magic energy can handle, so he decides to show it off for the first time. He refines the drawing of his golem. Then, he summons another version of it into existence. Akira's golem resembles a Gundam suit made of stones. Furthermore, it is terrifyingly enormous. Both Karamis and Metis are in shock. Their jaws drop and their eyes widen. Metis is in awe. The advanced summoning impresses Metis. He feels stupid for ever thinking so low of Akira. Then, the gaze he directs towards Akira softens. On the other hand, Karamis orders Akira to stop messing around. How can he change the appearance of a summoned beast while it's being summoned? She smiles maliciously. She then ridicules Akira for summoning an advanced golem where it is horrendous and a mess. Akira's golem is skinnier below the chest. Furthermore, it only has one arm. Akira cannot vocally admit he had to cut down on some of the golem's parts. He has to do it to match to his magical power. He knows his golem is unpleasant to look at, yes. But he is also certain that his summoned creature is indeed an advanced golem. All of a sudden, Akira's golem attacks Karamis' golem. Rocks are everywhere. The attack jostles Metis, who is currently hanging by the hands of Karamis' golem. Akira then remembers one of Arya's studying sessions. Arya teaches him that he shouldn't aim for the enemy golem. If the summoner falls, the summoned beast will be destroyed. With this in mind, he should first make sure that Metis is safe, and with a serious, stern look, he decides that he will begin his attack. Akira and his golem attack the enemy golem. This prompts the enemy golem to drop Metis. Fortunately, Akira's golem catches her in one of its huge arms on time. Since Metis is already safe, they realize that they have to get out of the limestone cave, so the summoned golem runs, with his summoner on his heel. They have to escape quickly. However, Karamis attacks them. The enemy golem almost hits Akira, and Karamis catches up with them. Due to Akira's attack earlier, Karamis is badly hurt. She loses her mask prior, and she has blood dripping from her face. Aside from that, her left eye is closed shut. She maliciously sneers at them. She then tells Akira that she does not want them to leave. She wants to play with him still. Seeing Karamis, Akira knows he fails to defeat the leader. Then, Karamis takes a hold of a scroll. It is the scroll of a second chance, an elemental cure. She then generates a magic circle. She never would have thought to use her ace against a kid, but she does. With her powers, she summons the divine beast, Leviathan. The magic circle emits scintillating lights around the limestone cave. Then, a formidable beast magically appears in front of them. A Leviathan is a humongous blue, powerful dragon with glowing red eyes. It is any golem's natural enemy. Furthermore, it is a water monster that is strong enough to defeat the earth-based golem. Karamis is proud of her summoned. She feels that the kids have underestimated her, hence she tries to prove them wrong. Then, Leviathan attacks Akira's golem with a critical aqua wave. Water splashes into gigantic waves that are enough to take out the golem. However, the golem defends itself with a wall of earth. Towering rocks have sprouted from beneath the earth to shield the golem and Metis. The defense astonishes Karamis. She compliments the pair for being clever. This is because they use the wall of earth to protect the main body of the golem, which is the thinnest part of him. Immediately, Akira's golem produces and directs a blazing destructive beam towards Leviathan. Leviathan gets hit. The collision causes rocks around them to break into pieces. With the high-powered assault, Karamis confirms and acknowledges the golem as advanced. Aside from this, she gets curious. The golem cannot protect Akira from Leviathan's water-based attacks. In her opinion, Akira cannot just decide on a whim that the golem only defends itself. Karamis is perplexed. Questions start to flood her mind. Queries such as, what kind of kid is capable of signing a contract with an advanced golem? Does she really think that such a child can make a contract with a senior golem? What in the world is this kid? While Karamis is distracted, Akira instructs Metis to get up quickly. He has to get away from the golem. However, Karamis will not let them. She orders the huge monster Leviathan to stop them using its aqua breath. With one blow, it decimates one of the golem's arms that are holding Metis. The blast shatters it to pieces, dropping Metis in the process. Akira grits his teeth in frustration. He knows that his golem is weak against water. As a retaliation, the golem once again uses his destructive beam against Leviathan. However, it is of no use. The blazing ray does not work as Leviathan blocks it. Of course, against its natural enemy, water, how can an earth attribute win? Akira is tired. His sweat drips from his face and he is out of breath. He thinks about how they can fight back. He is already out of magic. He can neither fight back nor keep the golem alive. He bites his lip out of exasperation. He knows that he is running out of options. He forces himself to think. He once again thinks back to his old life as Akira Kamishiro. Akira Kamishiro is a successful manga creator. In his old life, it is unusual for Akira to get stumped for ideas. He's always able to come up with something without running away. He realizes that the real talent of a cartoonist is not his drawing ability, but it is his creativity and artistry that creates a different world and moves people's hearts. Then he concludes that one should never stop thinking. He chooses and creates this world. As this world is of his own design, he thinks only of one option to defeat Karamis, to use an empty magical scroll. Fortunately, a magical scroll lies on the ground next to him. He plans to draw the elixir on it. This elixir will increase his HP, hit points, and health, thereby giving him more magic to use. Karamis is excited to win. Her monstrous creature Leviathan once again attacks Akira's golem with Aqua Breath. While it hits the golem, Akira runs towards the empty scroll. Karamis notices him. As Akira reaches the scroll, dread fills him. He realizes that he has no magic left, hence he cannot draw. He recognizes the fact that he is not a real mage just like his parents. He can probably use his magic infusion skills, but again, he can't since he can't do magic at all. He recalls the time he discovered his talent for drawing. Ever since he is born into the world he currently resides in, he has always thought that he would have magical abilities, but for some reason, he has never been able to do magic. He later learns that he can activate the effects of items by drawing them on scrolls imbued with magic. This cheat code of his breaks the popular belief that scrolls preserve magic. Back in the present time, happiness radiates from Karamis. She feels her victory is near as she asks Akira if he's running out of ideas. She then tells him that she's going to play a wonderful tune with his body. To this, an injured Metis advises Akira to run away. He assures him that he has done all that he can. It is now time for him to go and run by himself. However, Akira does not listen. He picks up the scroll. Then he throws it towards Metis. Metis in turn catches the scroll. Akira, with all his might, pleads for Metis to infuse the scroll with magic. Immediately, Akira shouts at the golem to give it all it's got. Item drawing is yet another one of Akira's abilities. The evil cult leader is being cocky because she thinks that she will have a guaranteed win against Akira and Metis. She tells Akira that after all that fun and excitement, Akira will just use self-destruction, and she thinks that it is just another childish trick. She also says that Akira is indeed a very brave boy for fighting against her. Akira only looks smug as he holds an empty scroll. Metis is by his side, telling him that the magic power has already been infused. The cult leader states mockingly how he is clinging to a scroll that she has already used up. Then, Metis worriedly inquires that even if it was some kind of magic, is he still going to keep fighting? The evil cult leader thinks that only a genius can perform that kind of task. Later, when Akira starts to draw an elixir, Metis is in shock at what he sees. He is stunned as he witnesses what Akira is doing. Akira's hand is glowing, and an elixir can be seen on his hand. After that, Akira uses the elixir to fully recover his HP and magic power. The cult leader is in shock and asks him what he's doing. Just drawing an elixir. He can't believe that he can use an elixir just by drawing it on a scroll. Metis tells him that the first time he saw Akira draw, she didn't think it was an elixir. He tells Akira that it is a kind of bluff and is having doubts that it will actually work. Akira says that it is not a bluff and advises him to watch what will happen. Later then, when Akira starts to summon the golem, the cult leader is surprised and stunned by what she witnesses, a drawing and refining of a complete, fire-advanced golem. Metis also can't believe what just happened. After that, the evil cult leader starts to laugh, and she tells him that it is just a golem that is on fire. She exclaims that in order to overcome a water-based monster, he just summoned a fire-based golem. She is convinced that it is impossible. Metis tells Akira that it is complete nonsense and starts panicking. Meanwhile, Akira is raging and is about to take a step to hit the evil cult leader. He will do everything he can just to win. After that, a forceful attack is aimed at the cult leader. She is caught off guard and can't withstand the strength that she is taking. She starts saying to herself that she will not care what the cost will be to her. She can't believe what happened, and even before she finishes her sentence, she is forcefully thrown to the coast by Akira's attack. On the other hand, his father, Carl, and the citizen hear a loud blast from the coast. The citizens start to hurry, and they also send a pigeon to the Count's army in order to know their location. After that, Akira's father is worried for his safety and hopes for him to be alright. Meanwhile, Akira and Metis are together, and Akira's energy is drained after what happened while he's lying in Metis' lap. Akira thinks that he has completely failed, that the elixir of life is gone, and that he is running out of magic power. He tells Metis that they have to hurry and need to get out of there because the enemy might come back. He also says to call for help immediately. Metis thinks that it is not necessary at all, and he exclaims that he's being stubborn. Metis is asking Akira if he's okay, and Akira says that he's okay and asks her again to just call for help. Metis says that he is not being stubborn. He tells him to just look around him. After that, Akira saw a bunch of people, and his father ran towards him and yelled his name, asking if he was okay after all that had happened. Meanwhile, Metis is staring at him, asking him who he really is and to explain himself to Metis. He told Metis that he couldn't say it for now and just wanted to keep it a secret for a while. He told Metis that his true identity is just an heir to the magic stone, but that he can't use magic. He told him he would just say it that way if it was okay, and Metis seemed fine with it. Then he thanked him for saving his life. After the intense battle, the guards are gathering, while Metis and Akira are having a conversation. In order to become a leader that won't embarrass his people, Metis thinks that he still has to learn a lot more. He learned swordsmanship and magic and also studied diligently to get a scholarship. He's telling Akira that ever since he met him, he realized that he learned a lot, and it made him very arrogant. Akira's smiling while listening to him. He also tells Akira that there are some people who never realize something like that. Then, Akira replies that he's such an amazing person since he admitted knowing himself is the true value that lies behind a kind leader. This makes Metis smile. After a while, the guard calls Metis and tells him that the chariot is ready, and tells him to come as soon as possible. He tells Akira that he will be going now. Akira bids him farewell. Later, Metis tells Akira that his real name is Metis Fina and wants them to meet again next time. He said that it's an ill-fitting name, so it's hard for him to tell Akira about it. And then, Akira shouts at Metis to take care. He also said to meet again tomorrow at the same place, and he added not to worry at all just because his name sounds like a girl's. He thinks that Metis has a pretty thick head. Akira is happy, and what makes him happy is not that he's close with a noble, but because he found a great person among his enemies. Then he smirks. It's his first time finding a friend that he can respect from the bottom of his heart. In the chariot, a man tells Metis that they received a report from the royal palace. It's good news, while Metis is undercover, and the man says that Metis' body double managed to lure out some rebels and is able to capture all of the rebels. The man said to him that he would get the preparations ready for his return to the palace. Princess Metis thinks that he is no longer the count's son, since he's been called a princess. The man asks for forgiveness from Metis because of his incompetence. Metis is caught up in such a mess. Metis tells him it's nothing and calls him Count Brinstard. Metis is never the Count's son, she is a princess. Later in the night, while Akira is sleeping, he suddenly feels a pain in his chest, like he's having a heart attack. Meanwhile, his mother is very worried and asks him what's happening. Arya is also there. She asks Diva what is going on, and Diva tells her that it's Akira and that he is suddenly in a lot of pain. Arya thinks that it's because of mana exhaustion, that his mana nerves, which support magical energy, have gotten clogged due to handling magic levels beyond their natural limit. Arya said that he warned Akira about this. Later, Akira starts to glow, and some nerves can be seen from him like an X-ray. Arya tells Diva and Karl that they can heal him by inserting mana from the outside into his nerves, and his life will be in danger if they fail. He won't be able to handle mana, one of the major side effects. Meanwhile, Akira has never felt so much pain like that before. He thinks that since he won't be able to handle mana anymore, he will become normal, and he doesn't even care about it. Akira is more worried about Metis if he's not able to show up tomorrow. After that, Akira finally comes back to sleep while his mother is by his side. Meanwhile, there is someone on the roof, telling something about Akira that it will not be normal even in a kingdom of magical prowess like Pennsylvania. She also can't imagine that a little boy like Akira in a rural region like that can push himself to that point. And it turns out that someone on the roof is the evil cult leader, and this time Arya is also there. It seems like Arya and the evil cult leader already know each other for a long time. The evil cult leader tells Arya that the boy, Akira, is the singularity, and not only that, Arya is a shadow in charge of protecting balance in the world. The evil cult leader asks Arya what she is hoping to achieve by hiding a creature like Akira, and says that the other shadows won't stay quiet, unlike Arya. Arya tells her that she's sealed that power and doesn't dare to touch Akira. If the evil cult leader ignores the warning, Arya will consider her an enemy, while she transforms into something terrifying, a shadow form with wings and a lot of eyes. The evil cult tells Arya that she has no intention of going up against the end, and if Arya is willing to go that far, then it is fine with the evil cult leader. Later, the evil cult leader agrees with Arya, and then she leaves. Arya intends to do so, and she has managed to keep it under control for now. But for how long will she be able to keep it? Meanwhile, Akira, on a hazy night, saw a shadow in the moonlight. He wonders what will happen if he doesn't see Metis. A few days later, Akira finally had the strength to go back to that place where he met Metis, but no one was there except for him. He waited under the tree and waited day after day, but in the end, Metis did not show up. And so, the years kept passing by. There are signs of Odar activity near the northern cliff. The guards of the heir to their throne are locating the most excellent magicians for the upcoming disaster to protect the life of the Great Queen. The Queen ordered the guards to find her mentor, Katya Mayan, because there was no one greater at summoning magic than him, and to make sure to bring him to the palace. In the year 698, in the northern region of the Stormheim Kingdom, in the world of Altergard, a large army of Odars appeared. These monsters looked like huge shadows of monsters and were glowing. There are also reports of sightings of gold-coated Odars, which drain the lives of other living creatures. Then, the dead also became new Odars, increasing their numbers to the tens of thousands. They had taken over half of the kingdom within 2 weeks, and only like the most powerful magicians would be able to fight them back. Humans and creatures alike could only stand in fear at the wave of destruction. Later, the greatest and most powerful magicians finally arrived. They are called the Pennsylvania Magic Squad, and they also have the summoning magicians with them. Furthermore, the battle begins, and in the end, the Pennsylvanian magic squad succeed in defeating the Odar monsters. Thanks to the Pennsylvanian sorcerer's help, the country succeeded in subjugating the Odars, and the war came to an end. However, this victory was only obtained by the great hero Sword Mayan, who managed to fight against thousands of Odars, and his wife, Celeria, the second queen of the Stromheim kingdom, lost her life. After experiencing the fear of war to their own core, humanity formed alliances throughout the entire world, preparing for another Odar attack in the future. A great wall is erected in the northern region of Stormheim. Thanks to these events, the Queen of Stormheim, who inherited the title of hero, decided to abandon the title of Country of Heroes, focusing instead on the training of sorcerers and summoning magicians. 14 years later, in the year 712 of the ancient calendar, the people of Stormheim are now living in peace. On the other hand, Akira is playing a game that lets you bet a lot of gold. Someone is laughing and telling him that the goddess's wrath falls upon Akira. The reason behind it is that Akira lost the bet, and he has to pay a lot of gold coins. He has to pay at least 9,000 gold coins. He's trying to help his friend out, but ends up becoming yet more dead weight. His opponent is telling him to stop sticking his nose where it doesn't belong. After that, they go to the bar to drink some beer. A beautiful blonde girl is a waitress in the bar. So, in the bar, Akira is with his friend Gath, and they're just talking about the belt. Gath tells Akira that he appreciates his help, but just paying his tabs would have been fine. Akira thinks he's a loser since he wanted to help his friend recover the money he lost but ended up losing even more. He thinks that he's always hung up on the strangest things, and thinks that's just who he is. Meanwhile, Gath and Akira are talking. Akira is telling Gath that he got carried away, and it's not like he could ignore Gath begging for a measly 100 gold coins and to think Gath already lost 1,000. He tells Gath that he's such a bastard and asks him if he's wasting other people's money as well. He tells his friend that he's not some kind of wallet. Gath apologizes to him and tells him that he just wanted to win them back and pay them up. But now that the debt has increased to 9,000 gold coins, Akira is so mad, telling Gath that 9,000 gold coins are half of what a shop earns an entire year. Akira asks himself how did he lose so much money? Maybe there's something wrong with him. Then Gath says to Akira that they never change, and for some reason they never have luck. No talent, no luck, they have none of that, and they're just a knight's son who can't use a sword. Akira adds that there is also a magic shop owner's son who has no magic. Gath asks him if he feels any pressure from his family, and he replies that his parents had no problems at all and didn't give him any pressure. Gath laughs, while asking if his parents are fine with him even though he can't use magic. Later, Gath apologizes to Akira about what happened when he was a kid. He lost his ability after an incident as a child. After that, Gath apologizes and tells Akira that they were not different at all, because Akira might have had some talent after all. Akira is not bothered at all. He's telling his story to Gath. He wasn't all that powerful to begin with, and he was relying on scrolls, just like he is now. Besides, in the end, he wasn't built for success at all. Gath is speechless while staring at Akira, and being able to work as a merchant is enough for Akira. Then, since he's in the second generation, he doesn't have to worry about job security or marriage fees. Gath laughed as he said that Akira is a bastard for thinking about marriage already. After that, the waitress pops up out of nowhere and tells him that she's been listening to them all this time and she can't believe that the two young guys are talking about life so disapprovingly. She tells them that they're still young, so let themselves dream a little bit more. And she tells him that she can offer her special sausage service after all. The waitress's name is Louisa. Akira asks Louisa if she understands how they feel, and Louisa tells Akira that listening to young people's worries is their duty as older folk. Louisa was born in poverty in Lloyd, and a shop owner with no abilities is good enough for her to be her prince. Then, she asks Akira about marriage stuff and offers a date with him. Akira refuses her offer, and while Gath is more interested than Akira, he tells Louisa that he'll go anywhere with her. So, Louisa asks him if he's inheriting a store or something else, but Gath can offer his sincere love to her. Louisa tells him that love is not enough to buy food, and then she leaves. Gath asks Akira if Louisa isn't just the absolute best and why Akira rejected her anyway. Louisa is just messing around, and Gath tells him that is how to start out and then start building a new relationship. After some talking, someone called Akira. It is Arya that is calling him, and then Gath tells him that Arya is the reason, after all, why she rejected Louisa. He's yelling at Gath, saying that it's not what he thinks it is. Gath asks him if he put Arya under a weird spell or something. Akira is so mad at him, telling him that he is stupid. Of course, he did not put Arya under a spell. Gath replies that in any case, he should just make sure to not forget the money that he owes. Later, Akira and Arya are on the road. Arya tells Akira that a guest visits him and is waiting for him at home. Akira is confused and asks if he's getting his money back. She tells him that it is someone from the royal palace. Akira is surprised and wonders what they want from him. Furthermore, while walking home, Akira is thinking about the life he had with Arya. Arya has been there with him since he was a child, and as a maid, she has practically become his family. Besides, Arya knows about the drawing secret. 8 years ago, he lost the mana nerves inside his body after being kidnapped for a pagan ritual. Ever since that time, Akira has been unable to handle mana on his own, and if he injects other people's mana into his body, he's able to use drawing, and that is something only Arya knows. But as long as Akira has a scroll, he can use some ordinary magic, and Akira thinks that he doesn't need any of those abilities now since he's trying to live a peasant's life. Later, Akira realizes that they are surrounded by couples and feels awkward around Arya. She asks Akira what the matter is, but he merely says that it's nothing. Akira is thinking about the words that Gath said to him and starts to blame Gath. Akira thinks that Arya is his family and there's no way for him to see her like that. Furthermore, Arya holds Akira's hand tightly. He's confused and asks her why she's holding his hands all of a sudden. She tells Akira that it's alright even if he can't use magic. Akira smirks and thinks that Arya has been listening to him all this time. He thanks Arya for that. Arya has been supporting him unconditionally all this time, even when those around him felt sorry for him. His mom, who would ask what he wanted to eat for dinner and smile even though he's a good-for-nothing loser, and his dad, who encouraged him to study the scroll diligently even though he couldn't use magic at all. No matter how much money he earns, a happy, peaceful life is the only thing in the entire world that he will never have. A life where he doesn't have to put himself through hardship or pain, a place where he belongs. And all of those things can disappear if he doesn't get those 9,000 gold coins back. Meanwhile, someone suddenly asks him if he was Akira Rainford. A girl, standing tall with short hair, asks him if he was Akira Rainford, the genius summoning sorcerer. To say Akira is surprised is more of an understatement. Of course, not by the sudden appearance of this noble-looking woman, but by the fact that she called him a genius summoner. Naturally, he is afraid that this newcomer was aware of his power, but he averts the conversation by assuming the Lady Knight came from the castle. In his mind though, he questions how he thought she had a familiar face, curious for the MC to suddenly get that feeling. By his response, the visitor correctly guesses Akira's true identity, and in an unconventional move, she asks for an apology for making Arya get him in such a hurry. This move makes Akira note how polite his visitor is, and so he cautiously asks about what she meant by calling him summoner. But rather than give a straightforward answer, she remarks that based on what she knew, Akira wasn't someone that talks on words alone. In one swift movement, she draws and swings her sword so fast that she had sheathed it again by the time hundreds of columns of light appeared where she had slashed. The sudden display of power surprises both Akira and Arya, but the former was more so because the blade dance that the Lady Knight had done seemed somewhat familiar. It was just like Metasfina's sword technique. What seems to be the connection between her and Akira's long-lost friend? Though, admittedly, it was a more refined version of it. This technique, which allows the user to create multiple slashes in just one swing, was passed down in the royal Mayan family. This technique is named Swing Gun, or sometimes roughly referred to as Swingon, and its wielder is revealed to be the swordsmaster Katya Mayan, the capital of the Royal Knights, and the first daughter of the Mayan family. What's more, is she's Metasfina's sword instructor. Upon hearing this, Akira seems quite shocked, and again decides to react carefully. He notes that he hasn't seen his friend for 8 years, and most likely the summoner that Katya is looking for wasn't him, so he asked her to take his leave. Before he could do so, however, Katya reveals that she is here based on Metis' stories about him. This all but confirms Akira's worst fears, that his dear friend had revealed to someone important in the noble community about his rare powers, and so his innocent, simple life would come to an end. Funny enough, apparently Akira still thinks Medea is a boy. But in order to ease his thoughts, Katya reiterates that she is not here to hurt Akira, and so offers to have a simple talk in a cake shop. The sudden change of setting confuses Akira, who is now unsure of why his new acquaintance chose a casual place, much less what she was going to talk about. Akira decides to try and make a good impression, mainly because he is feeling like he is being interrogated. He mentions how pretty Katya is, making her blush. Apparently, Katya is easily impressed when she gets called beautiful. The Lady Knight then said that she is actually older than Akira, who by this time is 15 years old. And when Katya mentions something about his mother being pretty as well, something in Akira's mind clicked. She was one of his prospective mothers when he was choosing which family to get reincarnated into, a fact that he uncontrollably shouted out of surprise and shock. So that's why Katya seemed very familiar to him. Fortunately, Katya misunderstands what Akira had said, thinking it was something about her being old enough to be his mother. She shyly admits that she hasn't even been with a man in about 24 years, but Akira was already apologizing for his blunder. Actually, he was thinking how surprising it was that all his prospective mothers exist in this world, and how he's now face to face with his second choice for one. So it was definitely awkward for him. Nonetheless, he figures if she was chosen as his potential mother before, then she was of good nature. With that in mind, Akira asks what she was here for, and Katya, without skipping a beat, asks him to join her dragon slaying team as a summoner. Again, Akira gets more and more surprised every second he's with Katya. He isn't more concerned about the dragon, but rather that she came all this way to recruit him. This could only mean that Katya knows of his powers, making Akira contemplate about just telling her the truth. And so, he does, although only part of it. Akira admits that he can indeed summon, but due to an incident when he was a kid, he lost his magic. Akira continues to downplay his abilities, saying that he couldn't use magic now without a scroll, all in hopes of not having to reveal his power or participate in Katya's request. Katya is surprised that Akira told her this, but she is intent on not taking his word seriously. According to Metis, the boy had a tendency to hide his powers, but would only show it when his friends were in danger. The Lady Knight bluntly states that she had no idea why Akira was trying to hide, to which the latter replies everyone in town knows he lost his magic. Still, Katya pushes with the idea, saying all he had to do was summon a golem to counter a fire dragon. And if magic was the issue, she'll provide the supply since there is a sorcerer in her party anyways. What's more, she'll even give him a reward. Now, that got Akira's attention alright. 10,000 gold seems enough to make Akira consider his position, particularly because that amount would be more than enough to pay off his debt. Once he showed his renewed interest, Katya knew she got him hooked. But, as an added incentive, she gives a little comment about going to his parents about not reporting his abilities to the kingdom if he refuses. Akira's excitement gets the best of him, and he has no choice but to accept the deal. Not that Katya was really threatening him though, as the Lady Knight gave him a sweet smile when the boy took the offer. With the kindness Katya showed, Akira is actually invested in meeting interested characters on their mission. Unfortunately for him, the other interesting member of the party is Alali, temperamental sorceress named Prol. Immediately after meeting, she berates Akira's inability to summon with magical aid and even questions his supposed feat of summoning an advanced golem at 7 years old. Certainly got your wish of meeting an interesting character, huh, Akira? Nonetheless, with Katya's insistence, Prol provides him with a magic-imbued scroll in order to test his abilities. Akira then decides to summon a low-level golem for its quick summon time. The other party members are more or less satisfied, and all seems well, right until Prol notices something was off. What's more peculiar is that although Akira had only summoned a low-level golem, the mana she was trying to give him is draining faster than expected. She notes that the boy's magical pulses were messed up, and before she knew it, she had collapsed from the immense draining of mana. Prol remarks that the mana wasn't sent to his magic pocket, but it went straight to the golem instead. She explains that everyone that can use magic has a magic pocket, where mana is stored first before traveling to the magic pulses and out of their bodies. What she did by magical injection was giving her mana from her own pocket to Akira's. Even if Akira can't use magic as of now, he should still have a magical pocket. But what happened is, due to his destroyed magic pulses, the injector's mana will drain completely. Regardless, Katya moves to the topic of whether the sorceress can recover Akira's magical pulses. Apparently, Prol came from the Brace family, one of the greatest sorcerer lines in Pennsylvania. If anyone can repair Akira, she can. Akira's hopes of his magical powers returning get crushed as soon as it emerges. Prol had said that she cannot repair his magical pulses, and apparently treatments on magical disorders are hard and complex enough as it is. Tough luck. And even if they were back in Pennsylvania and had 100,000 gold coins to cover for the examination, there wasn't even a full guarantee that it would work. Anyway, it's not like Akira was looking for a way to be treated. On the contrary, he doesn't even want to be cured. Seeing this as another opportunity to downplay his abilities, he remarks that if that were the case, he would be very useless for their quest. Quite expectedly, his two companions have different opinions about that. While Katya is more than encouraging for the young man, saying that summoners like him are valuable, Prol bluntly states that he'll be of no use since he's a jerk. Team building skills are highly recommended for you, Prol. Actually, it's them both that was more surprised by their answer, rather than Akira himself. Prol is really against the idea of having to rely on Akira's faulty summoning. Katya, on the other hand, remains optimistic that even a low-level golem will do the job just fine. When she put it like that, the sorceress eventually got convinced to let Akira help, though Katya offered to give mana as well. Despite the support Katya gives towards the idea of Akira helping, she herself actually hides a secret agenda, that the real objective was to observe Akira in action. And in order to boost the boy's confidence further, she decides to give him a magician's mantle, which is essentially a cloak. Akira is amazed by the quality of the mantle, noting that such a thing must have cost a lot. And he gets even more pleased when he learns that it was a gift from his old childhood friend, Metis. Prol, by this time, was lamenting how giving such a unique item to Akira is the same as wasting it away. Give him a break, sorceress! With all that settled, the party went on their mission. But, in truth, it turns out that the experienced adventurers required little help from Akira during the journey. The boy could do nothing but observe the master of their crafts at work. Prol shows expert lighting spells such as Fabian de Modler Gigalus and electrical dynamic shaking, which striking at the enemy, and those that escape get taken down by Katya's Swingan's magical flash attacks. Between the two of them, they can pretty much take care of the lizard horde, all the while Akira is sitting on the ground clutching his bruised knee because he tripped and fell. Even the main character is now questioning if his presence was truly needed for their mission. All in all, the party is able to make their way to safety without problems. And, as an added bonus, they even found a hot spring, much to Katya's delight. The Lady Knight had hoped to come across one, and now, with a place to relax, the ladies indulge in a bath. Unfortunately for Akira, he wasn't allowed to join, because he was a boy. Not that he needs to anyways. The ladies then take up a conversation about using regeneration magic, but even Akira doesn't need that either. The boy had packed a lot of pre-made magical tools, with elixir already drawn on them. This way, his health, magic, and stamina can be regenerated even without him using magic. It really helps when you can make an almost infinite supply of one of the rarest substances in the world. The scenario reminds the boy of his dear maid, who constantly reminds him about the dangers and limits of his magical ability. Akira feels guilty of having to lie to Arya about the trip, since all she does was protect him in every way. The two ladies notice him reminiscing and rummaging with a scroll, but their attention diverts away when Katya sees the water around Pearl change color. Apparently, the hot spring they were in has magical properties, and both the sorceress and even Katya have golden colors swirling around them. This indicates that the two possess magic of the highest quality, something that Pearl teases Katya about even though the latter was a knight. Anyhow, getting an idea that perhaps the spring could heal their magically impaired companion, Katya manages to convince Pearl to let Akira bathe in the spring too. Begrudgingly, the sorceress agrees to do so, and Akira slowly slips into the corner of the spring. Seeing that the boy had a well-trained body should be the most surprising thing Pearl observes about him. That is, until she sees that the magical spring starts to swirl bright rainbow-patterned colors around Akira. Pearl expresses her genuine surprise at Akira being the main reason for the rainbow lights emanating from the magic pool, becoming so shocked that she even asks for his true identity. Akira, on the other hand, is frantic that the situation doesn't do a very good job of hiding his gifts, and is getting more worried that perhaps it reveals that he has a special gift. To his credit, he himself doesn't really know what was going on, but Katya immediately assumes that this must mean the boy has extraordinary magical powers. And so, she turns to the sorceress for an explanation, and after giving it some thought, Pearl herself doesn't know what it means. She even built up an anticipation for it, only for her to reveal she has no idea. Although, she did confirm that Akira was weird enough as it is, as apparently the spring's color will change depending on the magical prowess of the person. The color will change from nothing to green, blue, red, or gold in order if they possess powerful magic. However, there was no mention of colors being at random in a rainbow pattern. But again, Akira himself is pleased with the way things turned out, because there was no record of it, and he doesn't have to reveal the true nature of his powers. For now, his secret is still safe. Anyhow, Pearl just attributes the change to either Akira being immensely stupid or him being some kind of monster. After that, the party settles down for camp, and the Lady Knight herself takes the first watch as her companions are taking a rest. As she hunkers down by a tree, Pearl approaches her and offers her something warm to drink. The two enjoy each other's company, and the Lady Sorceress jokes about their situation as Lady's having to guard Akira as he sleeps. Now, on the topic of their new companion, Pearl asks Katya about her interests in the boy. It's true that summoners are rare, but why take a chance on someone with risky abilities as Akira? What's more, summoners can't summon without contracts, and it's really hard to believe Akira summoned an advanced golem at age 7. Katya reveals, however, that her interest lies in the fact that Akira's father is Carl Rainford. This name seems to be a famous one, since Pearl herself was shocked to hear it. Apparently, Carl was described as the best wizard from a generation of geniuses from the Magical Academy of Pennsylvania, earning him the nickname as the Second Coming of the Devil. So much for having normal parents, Akira. Pearl says the genius wizard disappeared 18 years ago and didn't participate in the war against the Odirians, which is also why the country criticizes him. Akira's existence meant that Carl settled in Stormheim and had a family. And, with a powerful wizard as his father, Katya theorizes that it might be the reason for Akira's power. She even thinks that Carl was the one to summon and create a contract for the advanced golem for his son all those years ago. If you only knew that even Carl himself was unaware of this. Hearing Katya's theory, Pearl seems to accept that as a plausible reason. Nonetheless, Katya reveals that Akira seems familiar to her, like a relative of some sort. That is why she took an interest in him, and why she has an urge to look after him. Sometime after, the group finally encounters the fire dragon, and so, Akira's job of summoning an advanced golem is finally up. But even though he successfully did it, Pearl felt her mana draining mere seconds after. Nonetheless, Katya launched the offensive, and urged the golem to shield the dragon's fire breath. The only problem was, their mana was dwindling because of Akira's condition. Though the boy asked for more mana, Pearl decided it would be better to tie off Akira's loose magical pulses to increase their efficiency. Thankfully, it did the trick, and the golem was able to hold up blocking the dragon's attack. And, true to her word, this was all Katya needed. Activating her scarlet eyes called the Bloody Ashes, the signs of her being a chosen hero, she let out the swing on 30-fold acceleration attack, engulfing the dragon with countless slashes. The term hero refers to the mutation created by the goddess of war that showcases a human with a superhuman body and great magical power. All in all, there are 7 clans called the 7 Great Houses, featuring heroes in their bloodlines. These are the Lion, Lupidon, Frid, Baldart, Gildan, Naga, and the family representing Stormheim, the Mayan. The The Mayans in particular are said to contain the true power of a swordmaster in their blood. Akira watches on as Katya slays the dragon with 100 attacks per second. That, along with her red eyes, earned the Mayan warriors the title Blood Berserkers. Certainly a persona that's very different from Katya as a person. As the dragon falls, Akira wonders if Metis will one day acquire such a power. Nonetheless, Katya spoke after some time, saying that now she believes all the rumors that Akira definitely has a contract with an advanced golem. The boy senses the change in her tone, but he still attributes the feat to Prohl helping him with the mana. After all, the mission is over and he can have his reward. Yet still, Katya continues with her stern behavior, saying that although it is possible to summon such a monster with the mana provided, creating a contract with it is another thing. One would have to make the creature submit or inherit from someone in order to enter a contract. Either way, she can't believe that a 7-year-old could do so with an advanced golem. Now, with her words filled with interrogation, she asks the boy why he did hide his powers, and if he was told to do so by his father. Akira's mind immediately snaps to the whole mission being sort of suspicious, with 2 high-level adventurers seeking him out just because. But what actually pulled him away from his thoughts was that Katya mentioned her father. Akira tried to ask what his father as a shopkeeper had to do with all this, and that is when Prohl stepped up to take Katya's side in the argument. The young sorceress revealed Carl Rainford's true identity, much to the shock of Akira. Despite wanting to choose a normal family without anything special, he ended up being descended from one of the most powerful wizards in history. Akira just seems destined for greatness at this point. The revelation deeply concerns and confuses Akira, and that is coupled by the fact that his companions now believe his father is responsible for his powers. Unfortunately for them, their conversation was cut short as they felt the ground shake. Katya thought the fire dragon had risen again, but a much more dangerous creature was stirred from their fight. The party stands frozen as they come into contact with a massive divine beast, just awoken from its slumber.
There are several fascinating kinds of beasts, including the awe-inspiring divine beast of earth, Norm, the majestic divine beast of water, Leviathan, and the ethereal divine beast of wind, Elfin. However, reigning supreme among them all is the almighty divine beast of fire, aptly named Salamander, who has made its grand appearance. Prohl lets out a scream filled with terror as she emphasizes that these divine creatures tower above all other living beings, ruling over the 4 elements with unwavering authority. They staunchly refuse to tolerate any trespassing in their sacred territory. She urgently informs Katya that their actions have provoked the divine beast, capable of even harming a hero with a direct and ferocious attack. Akira's heart pounds with fear as he comes to the harrowing realization that Salamander is not just any ordinary monster, but a revered being worshipped as a god by many. Feeling overwhelmed, Akira anxiously proposes the idea of fleeing, but Prohl deems it unwise to make any sudden moves. With a sense of dread, she reveals that Salamander possesses an incredibly scorching breath that can obliterate everything within 100 meters, reaching blistering temperatures exceeding 3,000 degrees. Akira, trying to find a solution, questions Prohl about her mastery of ice magic, given her reputation as a talented magician. To this, Prohl admits that she is not particularly proficient in ice magic. Akira becomes upset and taunts Prohl, expressing frustration over her self-proclaimed genius status when she doesn't even know the basics of ice magic. The sorcerer snaps back, explaining that magic has its unique predispositions, and no one person can master all its attributes. Akira, in his frustration, retorts that she is just like an ordinary person. Guess the sorcerer's not the Ice Queen after all. Nonetheless, Prohl calmly explains that even if ice magic were her strongest attribute, it would be futile against the might of Salamander, for it is the most potent among all the divine beasts. She goes on to advise Akira that to stand a chance against Salamander's ferocity, they would need the support of the divine beast Elfin, whose attribute counters the fiery prowess of Salamander. Prohl further emphasizes that other than that, decisively overcoming the divine beast of fire's might would require the combined and concerted efforts of the other 2 formidable beasts, Leviathan and Norm. Akira, taken aback by the mention of Leviathan, eagerly asks if it is the colossal summoning sea beast he's heard of. Prohl enlightens him, revealing that divine beasts refrain from forging contracts with humans, and the ones capable of summoning them transcends their human nature. This revelation leads Akira to wonder about the enigmatic cult leader he previously confronted, contemplating the possibility of her not being a mere human. In the midst of their discussion, Katya interjects with urgency, asserting that they must take some action in response to the looming threat of the divine beast. Prohl begins to ponder whether they should confront it head-on or opt for a strategic retreat. Acknowledging the risks of fleeing, Akira proposes a cautious retreat, ensuring they never turn their backs to Salamander. However, their hopes are dashed when the divine beast of fire swiftly detects their movements and prepares to strike. In a daring display of her sorceress skills, Prohl conjures a formidable defense shield to protect them from Salamander's blazing fire. This leaves Akira astonished by her power, especially considering Prohl's earlier claim of significantly depleted mana reserves. Undeterred by the danger, Keiichi insists that Prohl should escape with Akira while she handles Salamander alone. However, the concerned sorcerer warns her against any reckless action. Despite Prohl's plea, Keiichi remains undeterred, advancing to confront the divine beast of fire head-on. Frustrated by Keiichi's stubbornness, Prohl implores Akira to summon the golem, albeit with a touch of sarcasm, referring to him as the idiot of Golem. They are literally like a sibling duo. Akira hesitates, apprehensive about further depleting her mana reserves, fearing the consequences of Prohl overextending herself. He attempts to dissuade her from confronting Salamander, knowing the risks of exhausting her magic further in such a critical situation. The determined sorcerer, resolute in her resolve, refuses to abandon Keiichi to her fate and decides to aid in the fight. Suddenly, encouraged by his ingenious idea, Akira summons his golem, successfully diverting the divine beast's attention. Prohl, acknowledging Akira's efforts, commends him for the first time and vows not to label him a slacker again. She becomes resolute in taking care of Akira's magic nerves, knowing the importance of maintaining his magical strength. Despite realizing the challenges of simultaneously casting 3 spells, something Prohl hasn't attempted in a long time, she embarks on the task immediately. Akira is astonished as he witnesses Prohl's remarkable skill in not only pouring mana into him along with maintaining the magic barrier, but also simultaneously healing his magic nerves. Meanwhile, Keiichi is also in awe of Prohl's power, wondering if this is the true extent of her abilities, hailing from the gifted cult of Pennsylvania. As Prohl fervently chants the enchantments Fabian de Mulder Claudia and Rubian de Mulder Downburst, she then initiates the 4th spell, commanding the elements of the atmosphere to submit to her will. The air responds to Prohl's command, enveloping them in a vast cloud. This effectively conceals their presence as it starts raining. Akira is taken aback by Prohl's incredible display of weather magic, wondering if all geniuses possess such extraordinary talents. Witnessing the successful weather manipulation, he becomes even more amazed. With the weather magic in effect, Keiichi expresses her gratitude to Prohl, relieved that their movements are now easier and less noticeable. The sorcerer asks Keiichi to hold on a little longer, while she formulates her strategy for the next steps of their confrontation with the formidable divine beast Salamander. Prohl contemplates how reducing Akira's mana consumption could significantly enhance the golem's mobility and control time, giving them a better chance to escape. She initiates the intricate process of integration, delicately linking each of Akira's nerves together, connecting even the most distant ones. As Prohl delves into his inner self, she calls upon the name of Akira Rainford, urging his body to reveal its hidden recesses. Amidst her exploration, Prohl's attention is captivated by a radiant rainbow light that suddenly manifests within Akira's soul. Realizing she has reached the edge of the interconnected nerves, Prohl makes a startling discovery: the existence of a hidden mana pocket. Astonished by this revelation, she finds that Akira possesses his own concealed mana pocket, tucked away behind the severed nerves. However, as Prohl delves deeper, she notices something even more astonishing: a mysterious and enigmatic bottomless magical power, surpassing even her own formidable abilities in sheer potency. Who knew this guy was a walking magical treasure chest? Prohl is visibly shaken as she possesses remarkably exceptional magic powers, even surpassing the standards of Pennsylvania, renowned as the continent's strongest magical country. She learned about the fascinating technique of synchronizing with others' magical nerves through measuring devices and filler skill, allowing one's consciousness to vividly visualize their boundless mana pocket and the sheer magnitude of their magical power. Moreover, the average magician's mana pocket is typically akin to the size of a human heart, while outstanding mages boast mana pockets towering to the height of a human or even surpassing those dimensions. However, in contrast to the dozens of ordinary mages, Prohl's mana pocket had been exceptionally enormous since her childhood, earning her both awe and fear, as she was labeled a monster and subjected to covert revulsion. You could say she's the Beyonce of magic. Observing Akira's awe-inspiring mana pocket, Prohl can only surmise that he has consumed huge amounts of elixirs. So he's been sipping magical smoothies all his life? It causes her to ponder whether the magical spring's iridescent glow bears some significance. Perhaps Akira's magical prowess exceeds the bounds of any recorded knowledge, hinting at an extraordinary volume of magic that has yet to find its place in any of the books. Prohl wonders how he could possibly conceal a pocket of such considerable size. Upon close inspection, she notices that the torn magical nerves around the pocket are perfectly placed to hide it. Prohl comes to a profound realization that someone had intentionally attempted to conceal this mana pocket. Just then, Katja finds herself in a precarious situation and believes that Prohl should switch to physical protection. Just then, the divine beast of fire, Salamander, redirects its attention towards the trio, abandoning the golem. With immense strength, the beast hurls them away and unleashes a blazing breath of fire upon them. As the fiery onslaught approaches Akira, he muses that his second life is still too brief. In the nick of time, Prohl swiftly positions herself in front of him, creating a protective shield. However, she frets over the possibility of her reactions being too sluggish, fearing they might soon be overwhelmed and squeezed out. Witnessing Salamander's relentless assault, Katja considers the possibility that even Prohl might struggle to withstand such an attack. Nevertheless, she decides against reckless rescue attempts and chooses instead to confront the divine beast head-on. With unwavering determination, Katja readies herself to unleash Swingen the Second style, executing an attack known as the Prowling Spear. Having heard of Salamander's vulnerable spot concealed behind the fiery sac on its chest, she directs her sword towards the target, launching a devastating Blood Ashes attack. However, to her dismay, Katja soon discovers that the damage inflicted on the divine beast of fire has transformed the fire bag into molten lava, ensnaring her in a perilous predicament. Meanwhile, amidst the chaos, Akira carries Prohl on his back, ensuring her safety and swiftly navigating away from danger. Despite the grave circumstances, Prohl continues to taunt him, labeling Akira as mere garbage and demanding to know their destination. The sorcerer remains relentless in her criticism, believing Akira to be a coward for leaving Katja behind in harm's way and fleeing. In response to Prohl's sharp-tongued comments, Akira maintains his composure, remarking on her wit despite the magical exhaustion and burns she endured. However, the sorcerer suddenly grabs hold of Akira's hair, pulling it harshly, and scolds him for abandoning his comrades to save himself, deeming such actions unbecoming of a true warrior, further cursing him. Yet Akira remains resolute, calmly asserting that he has no intentions of running away. Instead, Akira believes it is crucial to reassess their tactics before re-entering the battle. Prohl, eager to strategize, settles down as Akira shares his revelation about possessing a scroll containing elixir. She skeptically assumes he must be joking, wondering if such a thing even exists. Nevertheless, Akira firmly insists on explaining that with the scroll's power, Prohl's mana can be fully restored, prompting him to request her to transfer that mana to him. She taunts Akira, asserting that even if the scroll were real, he must be delusional to expect her to bestow her entire mana upon him. She humorously mocks Akira, asking if he plans to escape on a golem. However, Akira remains steadfast and undeterred, assuring Prohl that he intends to defeat the formidable Salamander. Reiterating his plea, Akira implores Prohl to transfer all her mana to him once it is fully replenished. Acknowledging the potential mismatch in attributes, Akira humbly admits that the summoning might not be the most appropriate choice, but he remains resolute in attempting to bring forth the awe-inspiring divine beast of water, Leviathan. In a different place, Medisfina contemplates Akira's feelings, speculating that he must be quite angry with her for breaking their promise. Despite being aware of the trouble she has caused him, Medisfina exudes confidence in Akira's significance to the nation, firmly believing that the country is in dire need of his exceptional abilities. Katja finds herself barely surviving at this critical juncture, realizing that even with a magical barrier, she could have been reduced to ashes. Nevertheless, the valiant captain of the Royal Knights remains unwavering in her determination to stand her ground until the very end, regardless of what transpires. Katja's sole focus is to buy more time, allowing Akira and Prohl to safely retreat from the dangerous situation. As an explosive burst of fire erupts, Akira and Prohl become deeply concerned for Katja's safety. The sorcerer is eager to rush to her aid, but Akira intervenes, halting her in her tracks. Prohl becomes upset, believing he is merely allowing the captain of the Royal Knights to perish. However, Akira tries to reason with her, explaining that recklessly rushing in and dying together won't solve the predicament they face. At this critical moment, he produces a mysterious magic scroll, surprising Prohl. Instantly, her wounds are healed, and her magic power is restored. Baffled by the sudden turn of events, she questions Akira, wondering if he was the one who performed this miraculous magic. Confused by the torn scroll now in his hands, Akira is taken aback as Prohl continues to comment on the situation. She deduces that the elixir contained within the scroll is what caused her healing, surprised that Akira had been referring to an object in the scroll all along. Then it dawns on Prohl that her bag was lost, but luckily, this final scroll was safely tucked inside her raincoat. Akira tells Prohl that he was worried if Tho's scroll would even work as a part of it had been burnt by the fire breath of the divine beast. However, despite the part of the scroll being burnt, it has remarkably worked. Urgently, he implores her to hand him the mana right away. Internally, Prohl feels apprehensive, pondering if the potion within the scroll is indeed genuine, as it is the first time she has ever heard of it. With uncertainty, the sorcerer asks Akira what he plans to do as she gives him her mana. Undaunted, he confidently declares his intent to summon the divine beast Leviathan. Though still skeptical about his own plan, Akira believes they must take their chances to save Katia. In response, he is taunted, with the sorcerer scoffing at the idea of a human making a contract with the divine beast Leviathan. Annoyed by Prohl thinking it all to be just a joke, Akira's frustration flares, and he sharply asks the sorcerer to stop talking nonsense and give him her mana. Akira reassures her that if she ever suspects deception, Prohl can cease providing it immediately. There should be a no refunds policy for mana transfers. He urges her to consider what she is willing to do for Katia, reminding the sorcerer of the successful potion. While Prohl contemplates the possibility of Akira summoning a divine beast, she asks herself to keep her focus intact. Reflecting on her knowledge, Prohl acknowledges that she has never come across any records of a human entering a contract with a divine beast. The sorcerer contemplates whether it is worth risking transferring her precious mana to a man at such great expense in this dire situation. However, ultimately, she succumbs to Akira's demand and begins injecting the mana into him. Despite complying, Prohl firmly warns Akira that any deception will unleash her wrath, even death won't shield him from her fury. As the sorcerer's entire mana transfers into Akira's body, he experiences a sudden surge of power within him. Amazed by Prohl's extraordinary might, Akira believes it may even surpass that of his elf maid and guardian Aria. This newfound conviction bolsters his confidence in the success of the summoning. With the intricate drawing complete, the divine beast of water, Leviathan, emerges. Prohl stands in awe, witnessing the very real presence of the divine beast before her. She can scarcely believe her eyes that Akira has indeed forged a contract with Leviathan. The shocking revelation of the elixir-filled scroll adds to her astonishment, not only because of its startling existence, but because achieving such a feat is deemed impossible. Pondering the true identity of Akira Rainford, Prohl finds herself intrigued. As Leviathan begins its movements, Katia immediately notices its presence. Her astonishment grows as she wonders where this awe-inspiring divine beast of water has come from. This battlefield has turned into a magical splash zone, and epiphany strikes Katia, causing her to question whether Akira Rainford truly summoned this divine beast after all. As Leviathan unleashes its powerful breath of water, Prohl and Akira struggle to maintain control over the magnificent creature. Their opponent, the salamander, undoubtedly ranks as the mightiest among all divine beasts, resembling a colossal Godzilla in its immense power. Prohl's concern intensifies, fearing she might be unable to handle the situation if Akira were to unleash yet another potent spell, considering his excessively high mana consumption. Despite the risks, the remarkable sorcerer takes a daring decision. She ponders the possibility of utilizing the enormous mana pocket and hidden magic power within Akira in this critical moment. The two majestic and awe-inspiring divine beasts engage in a valiant and fierce battle, creating utter havoc in their surroundings. Meanwhile, Prohl encounters Katia, and an overwhelming sense of happiness washes over her as she sees her unharmed. The captain of the Royal Knights expresses her gratitude to the skilled sorcerer while inquiring about the divine beast's situation. Prohl explains that there exists only one individual capable of managing to do such an impossible thing. She enlightens Katia about the summoner they had hired, who managed to call upon the divine beast of water. The captain starts reminiscing about the day Medisfina revealed Akira's astounding ability to her, leaving the mentor completely astonished. The young princess confidently assured Katia of the truth behind the astonishing fact that a mere 7-year-old boy could summon a high-ranking golem, and not just any golem, but one of the fire element. Medisfina excitedly narrated to her instructor how she, too, had been skeptical initially, but she witnessed the awe-inspiring event unfold right before her eyes. The princess animatedly shared with Kachia the astonishing tale of Akira, describing how he effortlessly materialized an item through scrolling and even wielded the power to alter the attributes of the summoned beast. Moreover, Akira had taken a solemn promise from Medisfina to keep his remarkable abilities a secret, but the princess believed that the dire circumstances now necessitated his intervention. She eagerly proclaimed that Akira was the one who could be Stromheim's savior. In the present, Kachia finds herself entranced, reminiscing about how Medisfina, usually composed and wise, would gleefully transform into a childlike state whenever she recalled memories of Akira. Suddenly, Prohl interjects, urging the captain of the Royal Knights to descend from the clouds and aid the sorcerer. Kachia snaps back to reality and inquires about Prohl's well-being, to which the sorcerer confesses to feeling unwell. Prohl then proposes a plan to utilize Leviathan's potent water energy as a protective shield and make a strategic retreat. However, Kachia deems it unfeasible, expressing concern that her magical energy would deplete rapidly in the process. In a moment of astute realization, Prohl devises an alternative strategy. She recognizes the grave consequences should Leviathan vanish, leaving them at the mercy of the divine beast of fire. Prohl decisively concludes that their only viable option is to secure additional magical energy and vanquish the menacing salamanders. Eager to understand the plan, Kachia inquires about obtaining the required magical energy. The remarkable sorcerer responds with confidence, proposing the injection of not only Prohl's but also Kachia's magical energy into Akira. Though filled with apprehension about her own magical energy being sufficient, the captain of the Royal Knights finds reassurance in the sorcerer's words, trusting that it will only be necessary for a limited time. Encouraged by Prohl's assurance and her unwavering trust in her best friend, Kachia agrees to proceed with the plan. Best friend goals activated. She starts infusing her magical power into Akira, and to his amazement, he senses a surge of even greater strength. Glancing back, Akira witnesses Kachia channeling her magical energy into him as well. With determination and resolve, Prohl immediately sets to work on the demanding task she has undertaken, displaying her unwavering dedication to the cause. The remarkable sorcerer carefully and skillfully begins the intricate task of mending the torn mana pocket of Akira, delicately reconnecting it with his magical nerves. The process demands precision, for at least 30% of the nerves must be recovered to ensure a stable connection. Prohl is acutely aware of the risks involved. Any mishap or loss of equilibrium could not only result in a depletion of magic power, but also pose a grave threat to Akira's life. Undeterred by the magnitude of the challenge, the determined sorcerer draws upon her vast repertoire of skills and knowledge, leaving no stone unturned in her efforts to restore the magicless boy's magic pocket. Gradually, the magical nerves begin to regain their vitality, inching their way towards recovery. 3%, 7%, 8%, 10%, 12%, 21%, 24%, 28%, 28.5%, 29.2%, and finally, reaching the crucial milestone of 30%. Tag team magic, let's go. As Akira's mana pocket begins to emit a radiant glow, its renewed energy reverberates even to the faraway elf area, who senses something calling out his name. On the battlefield, a wondrous transformation unfolds as Akira begins to emit a brilliant, radiant glow. From the depths of his being, an astonishing and seemingly boundless surge of magic erupts like an unstoppable stream, leaving both Prohl and Kachia utterly astonished by its sheer strength. Akira himself is left in awe, questioning if this incredible magic power is truly emanating from within him. Kachia finds herself taken aback, realizing that they haven't even at the source of this power, yet the magical energy flowing from Akira's body envelops him like a mesmerizing aura. Filled with wonder, she turns to Prohl, seeking an explanation for this extraordinary phenomenon. Amused by the Royal Knight Captain's astonishment, the sorcerer internally muses that what they are witnessing is merely 30% of Akira's original magical energy. She reveals to Kachia that this formidable power has been within him all along. With a touch of mystery in her tone, Prohl playfully taunts Akira, suggesting that he could not keep such an astonishing secret of absurd amount of magical power hidden forever. She further comments that whether Akira is a genius or not, he now faces the task of utter hard work and dedication as his incredible magical abilities are now finally revealed. No way, this kid's a magical prodigy. Prohl sternly scolds Akira for keeping his incredible power a secret, teasing him about now having to put in some serious effort and fight alongside them. The sorcerer challenges Akira to work hard, especially since she has cured his magical nerves without charging him a dime. Keiichia, taken aback by the revelation of the magically healed nerves, eagerly seeks clarification on what just happened. In the midst of all this, Akira finds himself in a whirlwind of emotions, unable to comprehend everything unfolding around him. Nevertheless, he's thrilled and ecstatic, basking in the newfound power coursing through him. It's like his head spinning with a magical high, leaving Akira feeling like he can conquer the world. Confident in his abilities, Akira realizes that he can now control the divine beast of water with absolute mastery. Badass mode activated. As Akira takes control of Leviathan, Prawl stands there, utterly shocked and mesmerized by the spectacle. The sorcerer wonders if it's all too good to be true or if she's simply dreaming. Keiichia, ever the practical one, interjects, reminding Prawl to stay focused, as Akira still needs their help. With a plan in mind, she declares that they'll restrain the hind legs of the salamander. Eager for Prowl's assistance, Keiichia asks the sorcerer to wield her ice magic in their joint effort. The skillful sorcerer initiates a mesmerizing chant, weaving her magic to intensify the blizzard into a ferocious storm, freezing everything in its path. Keiichia, with a spirited resolve, complements her with a Bloody Ashes attack, culminating in an awe-inspiring joint assault that unleashes an extreme crystal storm. An ice magic dance party, anyone. Taking advantage of the chaotic moment, Keiichia unleashes her swinging collaborative magic third style, employing the dazzling dancing sword technique called Gladios Madarica, combined with the powerful crystal storm sock's acceleration attacks. The impact throws the salamander off balance, sending the divine beast of fire crashing to the ground. Ecstatic with their progress, Akira plans to hold onto the salamander's neck firmly. However, Keiichia intervenes, revealing the real weak spot of the beast: its heart. Buried deep within the fiery sac on the creature's chest, the heart holds the key to victory. She warns Akira that until they reach the divine beast's heart, the fight is far from over. Prawl chimes in, sternly remarking that it sounds easy when explained but unveils the formidable challenge they face. The salamander's heart is protected by an impenetrable armor of muscle, tougher than steel. Suddenly, the sorcerer spots something amiss and promptly alerts everyone to brace themselves, as the fiery breath of the salamander is on its way. With a tremendous roar, the divine beast unleashes a scorching breath of fire, but much to Akira's relief, he finds himself encased within a protective magical barrier, courtesy of Prawl's timely intervention. The sorcerer urgently advises Akira to take action, emphasizing that if he were to perish, their chances of success would be slim. Keiichia, with a touch of vulnerability, confesses that she can't withstand another attack like that. Perplexed and in deep contemplation, Akira realizes the magnitude of Salamander's title as the mightiest divine beast. Although there is an abundance of mana flowing, it still pales in comparison to the overwhelming power of the divine beast of fire. More importantly, Akira understands that the penalties from the attributes are substantial, and even pouring all his magic into Leviathan won't alter its limitations. Determined to find a solution within Leviathan's abilities, he brainstorms diligently. Akira briefly entertains the idea of changing the water beast's attribute to wind, but the lack of knowledge about Elfin and the wind attribute leaves him uncertain. He then considers altering Leviathan's size, but quickly dismisses the notion, realizing it would only escalate mana consumption without increasing its power. Finally, a spark of inspiration ignites within Akira's mind. He envisions a deadly and cunning form, quickly sketching the image in his thoughts. The young sorcerer is onto something, and with determination he sets out to transform his vision into reality. In a stroke of brilliance, Akira envisions a form that can channel and intensify Leviathan's attack into a single concentrated point, unleashing its full force. Turning to Prawl, he requests one final cover when Salamander's next blazing breath comes, determined to target the weak spot at the end of the breath and pierce through it. Knowing that an exhausting, drawn-out battle holds no chance of victory, Akira decides to take one last shot at defeating the formidable foe. Embracing his artistic talents, he begins to paint a deadly and strategic shape for Leviathan, aiming to transform its power into a potent bomb. Witnessing the process, both Prawl and Keiichia are left astounded by Akira Ringford's astonishing power as Leviathan metamorphoses into a colossal spear. Pointed menacingly towards Salamander, ready for an impending attack, the deadly spear awaits its creator's final touch, a name. Drawing inspiration from manga and honoring the origins of Leviathan and the divine spear of Gungnir, Akira finally decides to name his creation the Deadly Levigner. This massive spear embodies the sheer might of a divine beast, concentrated to its very tip, ready to deliver a decisive blow. With a newfound sense of purpose and determination, Akira stands ready to face the fiery challenge with his exceptional creation, the Deadly Levigner. With a surge of determination, Akira rallies the girls, encouraging them to stand their ground, emphasizing that this is their final opportunity to prevail. Despite the apprehension about her own strength, Keiichi bravely faces the fearsome beast, exemplifying the valor of a royal knight captain. Turning to Prole, Akira earnestly seeks her protection, while he entrusts Kachia with the task of provoking the salamander to unleash its fiery breath. His plan is to strike a deadly blow at the divine beast's weak spot after the blazing fire breath subsides. Prole finds herself slightly frustrated by Akira's commanding tone, but Keiichi remains undeterred, smiling and ready to place her trust in him. Although the royal knight captain is prepared to act as the bait, the sorcerer frets about Keiichi being left alone again, fearing she might be vulnerable to a single deadly strike. Keiichi is about to become a dragon snack, yet to everyone's surprise, the royal knight captain herself is astonished by the idea of trusting the word of a young man with no combat experience. Nevertheless, she steels herself for the task at hand, fully aware that their success hinges on this moment. With resolve, Keiichi unleashes the formidable Swingin' Socks acceleration attack on the salamander, grabbing the beast's attention and setting the plan in motion. Her mind is abuzz with curiosity, wondering if this very reason had always captivated Metisfina's fascination for Akira. On the other hand, Prole contemplates the importance of being supportive, especially in a world already filled with selfish individuals. With unwavering determination, the sorcerer weaves her magic, conjuring a magnificent uranium Halley wall, an infinite barrier of protection that glows with boundless power. Its brilliance leaves Kachia astonished, as she witnesses the formidable wall compensating for the lack of mana by drawing upon the essence of life energy. Prole encourages her companions, assuring them that she's got their backs, urging them to unleash their full might upon the divine beast of fire without hesitation. Fueled by the resolute support, Keiichi confidently declares the start of the attack, while Akira nervously awaits the outcome. As Kachia launches her assault, Salamander retaliates with a critical flaming breath, leaving Prole taken aback by the sheer power it exudes. The sorcerer finds herself worrying that her magical reservoir may not be sufficient to face this overwhelming force. In a sudden and thoughtful act, Keiichi notices Prole's predicament and selflessly begins transferring her mana to the sorcerer, displaying her generosity and caring nature. Grateful for the support, Prole confidently carries out her part of the task, successfully creating an incredible magic barrier around Akira, enhancing the intensity of the battlefield. Amidst the battle's escalating tension, the Leviathan's spear hovers in the air, poised for action. Akira, fully aware of the immense heat emanating from Salamander's fire breath, marvels at Prole's ability to create such a protective barrier under such intense conditions. Nevertheless, he remains resolute, determined to endure it all, knowing that utilizing such a potent ability will inevitably slow down the movements of the divine beast of fire. Now they must bide their time, waiting until the searing heat of the breath subsides, giving them an opportunity to seize the moment. Akira hopes that in the midst of the great salamander's actions, it may inadvertently reveal a vulnerability in its defenses, exposing a potential breach they can exploit. He's fully aware that even after exhausting its reserves, the divine beast of fire will still desire to breathe again, offering a potential opportunity to capitalize on. Finally, the moment they had been waiting for arrives, and the great salamander's blazing fire dwindles away, leaving Akira with a perfect chance to execute his ingenious plan. It's like he's waiting for his own magical mic drop moment. Harnessing all the magical powers at his fingertips, he swiftly completes the reworking of the drawing, empowering the spear of the divine beast of water, Leviathan, with formidable force. With unwavering determination, Akira directs the spear towards the divine beast of fire, Salamander, commanding it to pierce the creature's weak point. Keiichi and Prole can hardly believe their eyes as they witness the Leviathan's spear obediently following Akira's command. The divine beast's formidable weapon soars unerringly towards Salamander's heart, piercing its body and causing a mighty explosion. In awe and shock, they witness the divine beast of fire, the mighty Salamander, defeated by Akira Rainford's strategic brilliance. Even the remarkable sorcerer Prole Bryce is left in disbelief, questioning whether she's in a dream or if Akira has truly accomplished the seemingly impossible by defeating the great salamander. Back in the comfort of Akira's home, The Rainford family is gathered around the table, indulging in a relaxed and carefree meal. Amidst the laughter and chatter, Akira's mother, Diva, can't help but let her concern for her son's safety peek through. Her eyes hold a glimmer of worry. Meanwhile, Akira's father, Carl, exudes an air of unwavering confidence, convinced that nothing could possibly go awry. In his mind, it's a mere delivery of scrolls. How could things take a wrong turn? Little does he know, but Diva can't shake off her apprehensions. She points out the simple arithmetic: 4 days for the trip to the destination and back. It's the first time they've allowed Akira to venture so far on his own, and Diva can't help but let the tendrils of concern wrap around her. The concerns take an amusing turn as she ventures into the realm of teenage possibilities. Diva worries that girls might swoop down like magical butterflies, trying to charm Akira with his undeniable cuteness. While the family navigates these domestic musings, there's a missing puzzle piece in the form of the elf maid Aria. She is absent from the dinner table, which prompts Carl to inquire about her whereabouts. Diva, always in the loop, informs her husband that Aria has already eaten her meal and gone for some business. Suspicion clouds Carl's face momentarily, like a magician deciphering a hidden trick in a performance. Yet Aria is far from idle. Embarking on a secret quest of her own, she becomes an enigmatic observer from a distance. Her eyes are trained on something with a focus that matches a detective on a mission. Back on the battlefield, the once mighty salamander now lies defeated, shattered into fragments. Keiichia stands there, her eyes wide with a mix of astonishment and awe. She's realizing that Akira's magical prowess and summoning abilities exceed even the tales spun by the illustrious Princess Medisfina. A sense of reassurance washes over Keiichia, like she's found a missing puzzle piece that completes the bigger picture. As she gazes at Akira, there's a sparkle in her eyes that hints at newfound hope. Keiichia is beginning to believe that Medisfina was onto something, that with Akira by their side, the intricate situation of protecting Stormheim from impending threats could indeed be a success. With a newfound sense of confidence, the captain of the Royal Knights envisions Akira as the country's potential savior. There's an aura of assurance surrounding her, fueled by the belief that Akira's capabilities might hold the key to their nation's safety. In contrast, Pral's emotions swirl into a vortex of frustration, her demeanor tinged with displeasure. The sorcerer doesn't mince words as she fires her questions at Akira, her voice laced with a simmering anger. Pral demands honesty, her eyes boring into him as she seeks the truth about his mana condition. The sorcerer, his curiosity piqued, delves deeper, probing into the magical scroll and the elixir it contains. In addition to that, Pral's inquiries extend to the feat of summoning a divine beast, an act further amplified by the manipulation of its form. She's determined to extract every hidden secret from Akira, uncovering the enigma that lies beneath his extraordinary abilities. But try as Pral might, Akira finds himself at a loss for words, unable to offer explanations as his consciousness takes an unexpected plunge. In a dramatic turn of events, he collapses without warning, his form crumpling to the ground like a puppet with its strings cut. Pral's initial annoyance transforms into concern, her shouts losing their sharp edge as she implores him to stop playing games. Pral's anxiety deepens when she realizes that Akira's skin radiates warmth, a telltale sign of fever overtaking his body. With a fraction of his consciousness restored, Akira's bleary eyes flutter open, a mix of confusion and vulnerability reflected in their depths. His voice is but a whisper as he questions the recurring phenomenon of magical exhaustion, punctuated by his signature touch of sarcasm. Frustration and disbelief intertwine in his words as Akira refers to his potent magical abilities as dumb. Even in his fevered dreams, he's sassy. Amidst this unfolding drama, the scene remains oblivious to the three mysterious figures silently observing the spectacle. They linger on, shrouded in an aura of intrigue. One of them, known as Oswald Willian, the master of soul taming, contemplates the enigma that is Akira Rainford. Another, the healer named Emmeline Days, weighs in, acknowledging Akira's formidable strength in defeating an Oswald-controlled salamander. She muses on the curiosity of this non-contractual summoning. The third figure, Mean, a spatial magician, expresses concern over how Akira's unforeseen actions could disrupt their Grand Oder's plan in Stormheim. Amid their discussions, another presence emerges, a mysterious singularity who seconds Main's apprehensions. They exchange their thoughts on the significance of Akira's powers, understanding that they resonate at the level of a singularity, enough to potentially unsettle their carefully woven plan. Amidst this gathering of powerful beings, Oswald turns his attention to the enigmatic singularity. Karameis, a summoner. Their dialogue shifts towards the practical aspects of dealing with what they perceive as an inconvenience. However, Karameis offers caution, a reminder of the watchful gaze of someone they consider formidable, a scary big sister who casts a looming shadow over their machinations. Curiously, Oswald inquires whether Karameis refers to one of the fabled four shadows, specifically Meluria of Perdition. As the discussion deepens, Oswald unfolds a tale from 7 centuries past, a saga of 4 ancient singularities forged by divine hands, igniting a ferocious war for supremacy. The mere mention of these entities sends shivers down the spine, aptly crowned shadows, the veil of darkness, owing to their awe-inspiring and terrifying prowess. Within this enigmatic assembly, Perdition emerged as an exception, an anomaly among her shadowy counterparts. Crafted by the divine hands of Chaos Ruin Mariah, one of the highest goddesses, Perdition's uniqueness lay in her resistance to the allure of power. It was she who brought a resolute end to the deadly strife that consumed the shadows, birthing the singularities. Through a pact, Perdition ensured that the creation of new singularities was forever forbidden. Oswald grapples with the enigma, questioning Perdition's motives as she, the very initiator of the pact, seems to have defied her own words. Perplexed by her actions, he struggles to fathom the reasons that have driven her to break the sacred accord. Karameis steps in with a cryptic smile, suggesting that perhaps Perdition hasn't breached the pact after all, her words laden with ambiguity that piques everyone's curiosity. The notion that Perdition might be exempt from her own pact surprises the others, sparking speculation about her true intentions. Karameis, however, refrains from divulging more, leaving the group in anticipation. Her cryptic musings only serve to amplify the intrigue surrounding the situation. The possibility emerges that Perdition might not be responsible for bestowing Akira with his power, absolving her of any perceived contractual violation. Yet Karameis remains cautious, lacking definitive confirmation. She has gathered everyone to unveil the circumstances, seeking their input on a weighty decision, to nullify Akira's power or attempt to align him with their cause. Oswald Willian finds himself echoing the sentiment that such formidable power is too valuable to discard, despite the complexities posed by Perdition's involvement. Mean, the spatial magician, proposes a prudent approach, advocating for vigilant observation before determining whether Akira's power might transform into a threat. Karameis finds merit in this notion, suggesting that their scrutiny should extend to Akira to ensure no unanticipated consequences arise. Emmeline Days, in her sarcasm, probes Kara's motives, jesting that her attention might have been fixated on Akira from the beginning, leading her to rally the others. Karameis, on the defensive, clarifies her stance, revealing that it's not Akira she fears, but rather the specter of Perdition. Their conversation is cut short as Prol and Keiichi whisk Akira away, racing towards his home. In an ironic twist, Emmeline conveys that it scarcely matters now. She's curious to see just how far this boy's newfound potential can take him. Amidst the intrigue, the singularities unite around a common purpose, the revival of Icarus Enlil, their preeminent shadow. Meanwhile, the trio reaches Akira's home. Keiichi extends her apologies to Karl, a deep sense of remorse coloring her words. She discloses the truth that they embarked on a perilous expedition to confront the fire dragon and reveals Akira's hidden abilities. Keiichi acknowledges her past concealment and earnestly appeals for transparency moving forward, urging Karl Rankford to share his own truth. It's like a magical confession booth. With genuine concern, she questions why he chose to conceal Akira's remarkable capabilities. In the northern region of the continent Eliana, amidst the ice-covered cliffs of Elfargo within the dominion of Stormheimen, a troubling occurrence has taken place. Many animals have met their demise in the Duchy of Callans. A concerned man remarks that 13 animals, transformed into Odirians, were euthanized in a single day. He expresses his worry, predicting an imminent third wave. Suddenly, the Archduke, Lord Callans Gilsodon of the esteemed Seven Houses, emerges on the scene. He reflects on the recent second wave that occurred merely a week prior, noting that the intervals between these waves are decreasing. Frustration evident, Lord Callans questions the capability of the knights to manage the situation independently. He instructs his subordinates to dispatch a messenger bird to Stormheim, urgently requesting reinforcements in the form of a squad of mages. Meanwhile, Keiichi briefs Karl about the unfolding crisis and questions his decision to conceal Akira's unique talent. She queries why he's safeguarding Akira's ability, while all potential heirs to the throne are fervently following the Queen's directive to locate individuals capable of summoning. Carl Rainford appears baffled, grappling with the nature of the talent referred to by the Royal Knight Captain. Kaguya, however, remains content with her precision in addressing the matter, leaving Carl with little room to evade the discussion. In response, Carl professes ignorance about Kaguya's topic of conversation and raises the possibility of Akira being involved in some wrongdoing. The captain of the Royal Knights suspects a deliberate act of feigned ignorance on Carl's part. Undeterred, Kaguya challenges his attempts to obscure the truth, asserting that he cannot continue evading the truth by pretending ignorance. What a nosy captain! Once again, Carl reiterates that he genuinely has no understanding of Kaguya's intentions. As Kaguya's frustration grows, she perceives Carl's behavior as shameless. Eventually, Kaguya abandons her attempt to explain and reluctantly concedes that he might indeed be unaware of his son's abilities. She goes on to recount the incident when Akira, at the tender age of 7, summoned an advanced golem. Kaguya elaborates on how this event damaged Akira's magical nerves and resulted in his mana pocket being sealed, almost as if someone intentionally concealed it. With a taunting tone, she points out that Carl had no knowledge of any of this, implying that a young child orchestrated these seemingly impossible feats on his own. Kaguya expresses astonishment at Akira's ability to keep these secrets hidden from his father for so long, growing upset as she recollects the power she personally witnessed in Akira's magical prowess in summoning. Determined not to overlook Akira's potential, especially as a knight in service to the country, Kaguya is resolute in her determination to notify the palace about his worthiness to attend the Royal Academy of Magic and become a court summoner. Carl, taken aback by this revelation, places his trust in Kaguya's words and requests time to speak with their son. In response, Kaguya apologizes for her raised voice, acknowledging the complexities of family matters. She assures Carl that she'll be waiting at the inn to hear from him, allowing him the time he needs to converse with Akira when he wakes. Before parting ways, Kaguya leaves Carl with a final thought, acknowledging parental worries but emphasizing the country's need for Akira's talent, hinting at the possibility of Carl's involvement. As she departs, she addresses him as Carl Rainford, the once gifted mage from the Pennsylvania Academy. Meanwhile, within his room, Akira remains unconscious, grappling with a sensation of fiery magical exhaustion coursing through his body. Abruptly, a nude woman appears, assuring Akira that he has unleashed his latent magical power and that his body requires time to adapt. She consoles him, urging him not to worry and to allow her to tend to him. This woman is none other than the elf maid Aria, who affectionately refers to Akira as her future husband. She guides him in circulating his mana and shares a passionate kiss with him before he abruptly awakens to find Aria seated above him. Frustration overtakes Akira as he raises his voice, demanding an explanation from Aria about her actions. He questions her intent, to which the elf maid straightforwardly responds that it is indeed what he suspects. With resolve, Akira physically removes Aria from the bedroom, ushering her out. Seated in the corridor, Aria is left baffled, her original intention of providing a mana-circulating massage met with confusion. Subsequently, Carl approaches Aria and requests a brief conversation. Meanwhile, inside his room, Akira is now fully awake, grappling with uncertainty regarding whether the recent encounter was a dream or reality. He contemplates whether Aria still perceives him as a child or now acknowledges him as a grown man. Pushing aside these trivial concerns, Akira decides to regain his composure and, at the very least, consume some elixir. To accomplish this, Akira draws a depiction of the desired object and utilizes a magical scroll to materialize the elixir. In an unexpected turn of events, the magical scroll ignites, engulfed in flames. Akira is taken aback by the sudden outbreak of fire, left astonished by the unforeseen occurrence. Akira is left in a state of astonishment, struggling to comprehend why the magical scroll has suddenly caught fire. He questions whether the drawing he made could be responsible for this unexpected conflagration, his thoughts gravitating towards a potential connection with the alteration in his magical abilities. Just then, Diva enters and begins posing inquiries to her son. She probes how he managed to summon without a formal contract in place. Akira finds himself bewildered by the sudden barrage of questions from his mother. However, Diva remains resolute, having learned from Kaguya about the implications of possessing boundless magical power and being capable of summoning without a contract. Meanwhile, Carl engages in a conversation with Aria about the unfolding situation. He adopts a mildly reprimanding tone, reminding Aria of her statement 8 years prior when she attributed Akira's injury to a mana inundation by cultists. Carl discloses that he refrained from probing further at that time, even though he knew the explanation was false. Acknowledging his own mage heritage, Karl emphasizes that he recognized the allure of those traces of immense magical power for Akira himself. Despite knowing Aria's association as the Shadow of Perdition, Karl confesses that he trusted her and retained the seal on his son's magic. He conveys his disappointment, revealing that the boundless magical abilities Akira possesses indicate that he is not only a mage but also a summoner, and not just any summoner, but one who can summon without a contractual arrangement. Karl confronts Aria, accusing her of being privy to this revelation and demanding to know her intentions with Akira. With stern resolve, he questions if Aria has transformed Akira into one of her singularities, forcefully seeking answers from the elf maid. The Shadow of Perdition begins to speak, reminding Karl of his past promise to grant Aria a family and highlighting her unwavering service grounded in that pledge. Aria reveals the truth that Akira possessed summoning abilities beyond those of a singularity from the moment of his birth. She clarifies that her actions were driven by genuine concern for Akira's safety. Aria explains that as his powers expanded, he would inevitably attract the attention of other shadows and singularities, posing a significant threat. Thus, her motive was to shield Akira by attempting to seal his magic. The ever-so-considerate elf. Karl responds with anger, indicating that the seal has now been broken, leaving Akira's extraordinary magical prowess unrestrained and vulnerable. Karl fears that his son's remarkable abilities will undoubtedly attract unwanted attention, putting him at risk. Aria concedes that ultimately, she lacks the capability to suppress the immense talents of the boy. Perdition, with a directness, informs Karl that his son is far from being an ordinary child. He suggests that Akira may not be on par with a singularity, nor even a shadow. The revelation weighs heavily on Karl as he comes to terms with the fact that the Rainford family remains ensnared by the curse, and now Akira is similarly afflicted. Karl expresses a sense of despair, questioning why he and his son must both suffer under this curse's burden. However, Aria seeks to offer him a different perspective, urging Karl to recognize that Akira has already drawn attention. She proposes that it might be safer for Akira to reveal his magical capabilities to the world, given the threats he is already facing. Aria contends that hiding Akira's powers is futile. She suggests that obtaining official recognition through a court summons would serve as a protective shield for Akira in the future. Karl, frustrated, questions whether she truly believes this is the right course of action. He challenges whether granting Akira mage status at court will deter shadow interference. Karl demands her honest opinion on whether this is genuinely the best decision for Akira's current predicament. So this guy's back at square one. Aria, in response, makes a solemn pledge to Karl, acknowledging the cherished covenant between her and the Rainford family. She promises that if Akira's safety is jeopardized, she, as Malaria, will step in to shield him. Aria assures Karl that she will protect his son even if she has to stand against all the shadows as her adversaries. She reassures Karl that she is willing to engage in a war of shadows to safeguard Akira. Karl, though comforted, acknowledges the intensity of Aria's words, finding them both reassuring and terrifying. Subsequently, he enters his son's room and shares the news of Akira's acceptance into the Magic Academy. Akira, suspecting that Karl is aware of his summoning skills, questions his father's knowledge. Karl confirms that he indeed knows everything that Keiichi has relayed to him, including Akira's ability to summon without a contract and his exceptional mana reservoir. He candidly admits that even now, comprehending these revelations remains a challenge. Akira ponders if his father is angry and reflects that the true nature of drawing and reincarnation, as Keiichi has described, remains enigmatic. He expresses regret for any unintentional deception and offers an apology to Karl, clarifying that he never intended to deceive him. Akira opens up about his past, explaining that when he first discovered this power as a child, he was gripped by fear that its unknown nature could potentially bring trouble upon his family. Karl reassures him that there's no need to apologize now, emphasizing that he is Akira's father and that even if it were to cause trouble, he would stand by his side. Karl expresses his delight that Akira's initial concern was for the well-being of the family, acknowledging that such a decision is not an easy one for a child to make in such circumstances. He assures his son that they'll handle explaining everything to his mother. Akira comes to realize that children with magical and summoning talents must be enrolled in the Court Magic Academy. However, his father informs him that a minor complication has arisen due to the royal court now being aware of Akira's powers. Akira realizes that Keiichi must have revealed his abilities, leaving him with little control over the situation. He anticipates that his mother might actually be pleased with this career development. Despite this, Akira confesses that he never enjoyed this power and had originally aspired to take over the family business. Frustration sets in as Akira comprehends that he's now compelled to leave his family and home for several years to pursue admission into the Magical Academy. He expresses a desire to return to the days when he was teased as a magical invalid. Carl counters with a positive perspective, reminding him that his abilities can serve to protect the people he cares for. He encourages Akira to embrace this valuable gift and its potential, believing that one day he will uncover its true purpose, yet to be used and exploited by a princess. However, Akira's thoughts shift to memories of his previous life, recalling his mother's encouragement to become a manga artist. Overwhelmed, he begins to cry, alarming Carl. Carl inquires if his son has changed his mind about attending the Magical Academy, but Akira clarifies that his tears stem from the sadness of leaving his family. He acknowledges his momentary lapse into childish behavior. Carl provides comforting assurance, urging Akira not to worry and to proceed with embracing new opportunities. He underscores that his family will always be there for him to return to. Akira acknowledges that he'll always have a place where he'll be warmly welcomed. Playfully, he teases his father about having learned from Katya about the genius magician who left his mark on Pennsylvania's history. Carl assures him that he will share all the details once Akira successfully graduates from the Magic Academy, though he admits that it's all a bit complicated. A week later, the time has come for Akira to set off for the Magical Academy. His mother imparts some last-minute instructions, her eyes glistening with tears. Diva manages to muster a reassuring smile, assuring Akira that she will do her best not to feel lonely during his absence. Before departing, Akira turns to Aria, entrusting her with the care of his parents as he embarks on this new journey. Upon arriving at the fortress city of Stormheim, Akira finds himself in a markedly different atmosphere from his home. The opportunity to use the campaign reward money to settle his debts brings him a sense of satisfaction. He is also struck by the memory of his friend Gus, who had surprisingly exhibited immense happiness and even shed tears upon learning of Akira's admission to the Magical Academy. At the city, Katya and Prol are there to receive him. As they guide Akira, they notice his apparent avoidance of the captain of the Royal Knights. Katya's frustration is tempered by Prol's reminder that she had initially gained Akira's trust by concealing her true intentions, and then coerced him into joining the Magic Academy. The sorcerer helps Katya understand that Akira's wariness toward her is only natural. Despite this, Katya reflects back by her audacity, considering that she was the one who effectively forced him to leave his home by threatening his family, feeling a sense of reluctance to bid her goodbye so soon. Wait, when did this happen? Prol playfully teases that she's not around to act as a babysitter for Akira. Before departing, she imparts a piece of advice. The sorcerer insists that Katya can be trusted, reasoning that there must have been a valid motive behind her earlier omissions. Prol offers Akira sage counsel, likening the importance of having a heart as expansive as his latent magical power, and then takes her leave. With Prol gone, Katya leads Akira into the palace and departs to fetch Medisfina. As Akira steps inside, a sudden wave of pressure envelops him. The reality he's facing is not as casual as watching a movie or playing a game. The palace's grandeur leaves him feeling insignificant compared to his initial expectations. Abruptly, the princess makes her presence known from behind, cautioning Akira not to turn around. She queries him, her tone enigmatic, about the degree of his anger toward Medisfina. In a light-hearted yet somewhat mysterious manner, she asks if he's just a little angry, very angry, or absolutely furious with her. With a jesting flourish, she imitates a gun with her fingers, humorously threatening to blow a hole in him if he refuses to respond. Baffled, Akira stammers, asserting that he isn't angry, and in fact, Akira doesn't even understand why he should be upset with Medisfina. As the princess appears before him, she embarks on a rambling discourse about breaking promises and the notion that he must see her as selfish. Despite her monologue, Akira remains perplexed, his confusion stemming from his ongoing assumption that Medisfina is male. Was this dude blind or what? Akira finds himself taken aback, grappling with the identity of this girl who exudes an air of importance yet offers an apology to him. Just as she bows before him, Katya suddenly materializes out of nowhere and delivers a swift hit. Katya perceives Akira's acceptance of the apology as manipulative, accusing him of pressuring Medisfina into performing some humiliating act. Katya asserts that this behavior is unbecoming of a princess and offers to take the blame upon herself. Medisfina, however, remains bewildered by Kachia's words. In the midst of this confusion, Akira voices his own bewilderment, admitting that he hasn't even met the girl who is apologizing to him. Katia erupts in frustration, revealing that the girl is none other than Princess Medisfina, the first heiress of Stormheim. Akira is stunned to learn that Medisfina is indeed a girl, and he shouts out, suspecting that she's trying to deceive him once again, vehemently claiming that he's not easily fooled by appearances. Longing to meet Akira in person compelled her to reveal herself. Apologizing for her self-centered actions, Medisfina expresses her desperation to make amends. Amidst her apology, Akira remains in disbelief as he takes in Medisfina's extraordinary beauty and her undeniable status as a refined princess. He finds himself questioning how she could possibly be the same Medes he knew from childhood. Sensing his contemplation, Medisfina inquires whether he's surprised to discover her true gender. Akira reflects on the past when she pretended to be a boy, admitting that her sudden disappearance without a word had caused him considerable distress and concern. After a moment of silence, Medisfina conveys that she can't provide all the details, but she's genuinely sorry for concealing her identity and breaking their promise. Should have apologized for future exploitation too. Akira extends his forgiveness, recognizing that the promise they made as children is now a thing of the past. He acknowledges the impossibility of forever concealing his powers and comes to understand that Medisfina had her own intricate reasons for her actions. He advises her not to be overly harsh on herself, jokingly remarking that despite his proximity to the castle walls, he managed to remain invisible all this time. Medisfina is heartened by his forgiveness, yet her tone shifts as she raises the prospect of Akira becoming a court summoner after graduating from the Magical Academy. This proposition bewilders Akira, as Katia had informed him that he can return home after completing his studies at the academy. Medisfina explains that all magical talent-bearing children from Stormheim are mandated to attend the academy, and upon graduation, they gain control over their own destinies. With solemnity, she queries if Akira is aware of the relentless appearance of creatures in the north that threaten humanity, the calamity known as odors. Worried, Akira inquires if she means the undead horde leaders who were vanquished 14 years ago. He presses further, asking if the odors have resurfaced. Medisfina discloses that the odor's resurgence hasn't occurred just yet. However, she reveals a new directive. All the royal heirs have been tasked with searching the world for exceptional magicians and summoners. As the first heiress, she feels a particular responsibility to produce positive outcomes. Medisfina earnestly requests Akira to lend his power as her vassal, citing him as the most accomplished summoner she knows. Oh, the buttering! With skepticism, Akira suspects that Medisfina's courteous apology was merely a ploy to manipulate him into becoming her vassal. He asserts that his aspiration post-graduation is to inherit his father's business, sarcastically questioning whether her words should be taken as a royal decree. This stings the princess, who assures him that no one will force him into anything, and once he graduates, she won't oppose his wishes. Wanting to leave, Akira is directed by Medisfina to a room she has prepared for him. The princess expresses a desire to continue their conversation later. As Medisfina grapples with the misunderstanding, Akira also wrestles with his emotions while he rests in his room. Unexpectedly, a voice startles him, attributing his confusion to the element of surprise. To his shock, he turns and finds Katia seated by the room's window. Akira's astonishment is evident as he loudly questions Kachia's presence at such a moment, and to add to that, her attire, which he finds provocative. In response, Katia matter-of-factly explains that her outfit is just pajamas and queries whether it's truly that odd. Annoyed, Akira inquires about the urgency that prompted her to enter his room at night while dressed in pajamas. The captain of the Royal Knights elaborates that she's just come from a pajama party, noting that her attire was chosen for that occasion. She clarifies that she enjoyed the time with Medisfina, yet her visit is driven by a desire to confirm something personally. Akira expresses confusion as he wonders aloud why he declined the princess's request. He explains his perception that Medisfina's words came across as an order from someone intent on claiming the throne. Katia's demeanor shifts to one of disappointment as she playfully scolds Akira for his narrow-mindedness. She self-deprecatingly calls herself an idiot for attempting to forge a friendship with someone who seems to misunderstand the princess's circumstances. Katia emphasizes to him that Medisfina, as the first heir to the throne, approached him with a request instead of an order, even when she's facing a potentially perilous situation where her claim could be usurped. What a manipulative witch. Perplexed, Akira seeks clarification, asking if Medisphina's situation has truly become so dire. Keiichia proceeds to elucidate that the princess isn't actually Queen Kaizera's child, but rather the daughter of the second princess. Akira's response conveys his lack of interest in politics, but Keiichia's concern is palpable, fearing that he may be too indifferent to the country's affairs. She delves into the history, recounting the war against Oders that took place 14 years prior, during which a brave couple, Queen's sister Celeria and Sword Mayan, valiantly defended the country and emerged as heroes of Stromheim. Medisphina is their daughter, and thus the heir to the esteemed Mayan family. Akira's realization dawns as he connects the dots to Medisphina's true identity, her actual name being Medisphina Mayan. Keiichia provides further context, explaining that the kingdom has long been ruled by queens and has a rich legacy of heroism supporting the monarchy. This led Queen Kaizera to establish a magic academy after the war, mandating enrollment for individuals under 18 with magical abilities. Originally, the throne was to be inherited by the queen's biological daughter, the first Princess Ursula. However, Ursula relinquished her claim to the throne, opening the way for Medisphina to qualify. Due to a national law preventing men from ascending the throne, Lady Medisphina, although not a direct descendant, becomes the sole heir. Yet a more complex issue arises with the first prince, Oswell. Unlike Medisphina, Oswell possesses magical talents and has extensively studied magic in foreign lands under the queen's directives. He disapproves of the country's tradition of hero worship and swordsmanship, aspiring instead to transform the nation into a magical powerhouse by adopting practices from advanced magical societies. Oswell's ambitions pose a challenge, as he's been granted equal footing with Medisphina and is vying for the throne through competition. Akira proposes a seemingly straightforward solution: let Medisphina and Oswell compete, with the victor assuming the throne. However, Keiichia is quick to explain the far-reaching consequences. She reveals that if Oswell becomes king, their country could easily fall prey to foreign influences, as he has the backing of another nation. Keiichia tugs at Akira's conscience, highlighting that Medisphina's choice to request his assistance rather than command it demonstrates her respect for his feelings. Keiichia recounts an earlier pajana party, noticing Medisphina's eyes gleaming with pride while hearing about Akira's accomplishments. The captain of the Royal Knights believes that Medisphina is the one capable of safeguarding their country. Finding solace in the idea that Akira, blessed by the goddess, could stand by her side, she implores Akira to acknowledge the responsibility that comes with great power. Yet when she senses his resistance, Keiichia attempts to sway him through a more personal approach and decides to seduce the boy. Someone call the Magical Harassment Helpline. However, their conversation is interrupted as Medisphina enters Akira's room, witnessing him and Keiichia in a close embrace. The princess takes offense, sulking at the sight. Both Keiichia and Akira earnestly attempt to dispel the misunderstanding, emphasizing that their interaction holds no guilt or ulterior motives. The following day, Medisphina joins Keiichia and Akira on a tour of the castle, playfully teasing them about their previous private moment. By the tour's end, they manage to assure her that there was no hidden agenda behind their interaction, effectively dispelling any misunderstanding. With spirits lightened, Medisphina enthusiastically guides Akira through the castle. He marvels at the grandeur of the main gate, finding himself at a loss for words. The princess proceeds to elaborate, revealing that the east gate houses the court knights, while the west gate leads to the Magic Academy. As they converse, Keiichia suggests that Akira undergo a preliminary checkup, considering his enrollment is scheduled for the next day. However, he courteously declines. Suddenly, a wagon arrives bearing wounded men from the Duchy of Calanthea. Keiichia informs Akira that these men have returned after battling the Oders. Rushing to them, Medisphina greets them with tearful eyes, expressing her gratitude and pride in their service to the country. Holding onto a man's hand, she reassures them that they are the nation's pride. Are all the girls this manipulative? Amidst the emotional scene, Keiichia explains that while the soldiers have returned from combating the Oders, the authorities still cannot publicly acknowledge the resurgence of the threat. Akira finds this treatment of the soldiers unjust, sensing they aren't being given due credit. Medisphina passionately echoes his sentiment, praising these brave individuals who selflessly sacrifice their lives for the country, seeking neither reward nor glory. In the midst of their conversation, a voice interjects, harshly criticizing the traditional swordsmanship and exposing the falsehoods that often shroud heroes' names. The source of the voice is revealed to be Oswell, the first prince. He dismissively refers to the returning soldiers as pitiable victims who were offered as a bargaining tool. Medisfina intervenes, cautioning him that he's gone too far in his remarks. Oswald bitterly lays out the harsh reality of the escalating Oder threat, warning that the days of peace are dwindling rapidly. He asserts that blind faith in heroes and swords won't be sufficient to defend against the growing menace. According to him, it's only a matter of time before the general populace recognizes the escalating danger. Oswald argues that Stormheim's fixation on heroes has rendered the nation weak and stagnant, lagging behind the rest of the world due to clinging onto obsolete traditions. Ahem, finally, some bitter truth. In response, Medisfina challenges Oswald's perspective, questioning whether his proposed alliance with foreign nobles to bring mages into the country is truly the right approach. While she acknowledges the importance of expanding magical prowess through international cooperation, Medisfina emphasizes that the legacy of the sword remains a source of pride that has safeguarded their realm for generations. She envisions a harmonious coexistence between sword and magic. Medisfina firmly demands that Oswald retract his belittling comment about the knights being mere pawns. In a display of arrogance, the first prince dismisses the knights' efforts, citing the Archduke Callan's Gilsadin's plea for mage reinforcements at the front lines in Callan's territory. He questions whether even a single suitable mage or summoner was dispatched in response to the request. Oswald mocks Medisfina, probing her contributions to advancing magic within the country. He continues to deride her, pointing out that while he commands a substantial number of mages and summoners, she lacks even one capable spellcaster ready to defend her cause. Oswald challenges her, demanding tangible proof of her dedication to the nation and its people, asserting that without accomplishment, she's unworthy of leadership. Further lowering his tone, Oswald suggests that Medisfina should consider marrying the second prince of Schaffhausen Kingdom as a means to serve Stormheim through the second prince's support. This angers Akira, who recognizes his own past tendencies in Oswald's behavior, dismissing those who offer their assistance. Fueled by indignation, Akira proudly declares his allegiance as Lady Medisfina's chosen summoner, proclaiming himself the summoner of the commoners. Oh boy, you are going to regret this. Akira discerns that it's evident at a glance that Oswald is the type of person who wouldn't hesitate to sacrifice others for his own gain, much like Akira himself used to be. In stark contrast, Medisfina displays compassion for her people. As a citizen of Stormheim, Akira fervently wishes for Medisfina to become the ruler. He confidently asserts that he's chosen by the princess and proudly declares himself the summoner of the common people. However, in the heat of the moment, Akira realizes that he may have gone a bit overboard in his attempt to support Lady Medisfina. Better late than never. Oswald's surprise is palpable as he questions Akira's origin and identity. He identifies himself as the son of the magic shop owner located behind the fortress wall. Oswald asserts his knowledge of the country's prominent figures, implying that he would have known about Akira's talent even if he were a commoner. The first prince mocks Akira, insinuating that he probably performed poorly on the qualification test and questioning his ability to summon even a basic slime. In an effort to defuse the situation, Akira attempts to downplay his abilities. However, this doesn't sit well with Medisfina, who won't tolerate any disparaging remarks about Akira. Defending him vehemently, she boldly claims that Akira is even more talented than the noble-born individuals. The princess's assertion doesn't go unnoticed by the surrounding guards and soldiers. Despite Medisfina's strong defense, Oswald counters by stating that she's going overboard, suggesting that Akira couldn't possibly surpass nobles who possess generations of magical talent. Unwavering in her confidence, Medisfina stands by her words, asserting that foreign spellcasters and nobles pale in comparison to Akira. She's ready to stand by her declaration, leading Oswald to propose a test, a duel between the aristocratic students and the commoner students of the academy. Oswald presents the terms. If he loses, he'll offer a formal apology to Akira and acknowledge Medisfina's success in unearthing new talent. Conversely, if Medisfina loses, she'll agree to involve foreign nations in Stormheim's magical development and concede to his previously mentioned proposal. Kachia and Akira worry that this challenge might be a trap designed to ensnare Medisfina. Kachia voices her protest, labeling the decision to determine such critical matters based on an argument as absurd. Oswald attempts to belittle Medisfina by implying that she's uncertain, prompting her to forget the conversation entirely. Akira recognizes Medisfina's naivety and Oswald's cunning manipulation tactics. How the tables have turned. He's relieved that Kachia is there to help the princess see reason, pointing out that such a significant challenge should not be taken lightly. Despite the situation's complexity, Medisphena boldly accepts the challenge, confident in her impending victory as long as Akira stands beside her. She reminds Oswald to uphold his promise, demanding a proper apology if he loses and emphasizing his responsibility to help his people. Akira can't help but feel astonished by Medisthena's unwavering determination and her willingness to rush headlong into uncharted territories. At the Stormheim Royal Academy of Magic, two folks appear to be engaged in a conversation. One's the head of the academy, the other is a very sought-after teacher named Pearl Bryce, here for an interview. Getting straight to the point, the head asks Pearl Bryce why she chooses this academy to teach, given she's rejected countless offers from very high-end institutes. Calm as a cucumber, Pearl Bryce says there's no big reason. She just has a feeling that the upcoming year is going to be quite interesting. Scene shifts to the bustling academy student cafeteria. Here comes Anthony Green, a magic whiz at level 21, headed straight to his female friends Elisa Regan and Annie Breitling. There appears to be some news about an upcoming confrontation between the regular students and the Snooty Nobles. Elisa's giving Anthony some side-eye, hinting he might want to dial down the shouting. Annie spills the tea. There's going to be a full-on showdown, starring the famous Lady Medisphene and Mr. Oswald's crew. And now comes the mockery part. That's a bad habit Demetrius can't drop. First, stripping Annie's clothes, and now he lifts her from her hair. No nobleman does that. Where's noble in this act? Demetrius mocks her, saying she should admit now that she has used all her tricks, and now is empty-handed. Her friends are now crying and screaming. This is certainly too much for friends to bear. Elsie recalls when her father proposed that she should get into the Magic Academy. She has a passion for music, but according to her father, she has a talent for magic, and she should get that royal degree. Out of respect for her very father who didn't take care of her passion, she should work hard to uplift his name. I can't get any more of this crap now. She also had to listen to all of those negative comments our toxic relatives have to say. I think it's like food for them to pass out those toxic comments. Elsie joined the academy, but however, she wanted to be expelled at once. But then something interesting happened. She met friends there, people who actually care for her feelings and make her feel like home even outside of home. Her friends were all wonderful people who never lost their compassion. They were all in a much more difficult position than she was. She never knew how nice it can be to make someone smile. And so she doesn't allow herself to give up now. Holding the egoist's hand, she exclaims that in spite of the opportunity she was given, she will lighten the burden for Anthony now. She'll make him spend so much of his dishonest power, and that's why she can't allow herself to give up now. To repay the comrades who took care of her once, she unleashes another magical move. Is it going to take down this egoist now, or will it still result in Elsie's defeat? Elsie grabs on to Demetrius's wrist with both hands tightly and lets loose her absorption magic gift, Mana Drain. From the spectators' stands, everyone reveals shocked expressions of their own. They can't believe she was hiding such an incredible trump card this whole time. There are even comments of how she's latched on to him like a leech, sucking away at his power. In a fit of rage, Demetrius smacks Elsie across the cheek with his free hand, hurting her greatly as he insultingly calls her a bloodsucker. Everyone in the stands is shocked by how brutal and vulgar Demetrius is being, showing horrified expressions at what they're being forced to watch. Meanwhile, Demetrius smacks Elsie over and over, calling her a girl from the bottom of society and demanding to know who allowed her to absorb the mana of a nobleman like him. Each time he smacks her, he demands that she let him go, but Elsie holds on and refuses to give in. Unable to keep watching their friends suffer such a painful humiliation, her friends call out to Elsie, begging her to stop and just give up. However, it's clear she won't. Elsie has already accepted her own defeat, but now she's clinging on desperately in order to help her comrades. The only way she can, by extracting Demetrius's mana. Akira can barely stay in place, his hair shadows his eyes as a silent fury overtakes him. Back on the battlefield, Demetrius has devolved from smacking Elsie to hurling swears at her and threatening her life, swearing to kill her. Though he's trying to put on a smug face, he's starting to panic at how low his mana is getting. As Elsie's friends scream out in horror, Demetrius unleashes a point-blank explosion right in Elsie's face. Tears stream down their faces as they stare out at the aftermath of Demetrius's attack. Elsie has fallen unconscious with terrible injuries from the explosion, and yet, even in defeat, her hands stay strong on Demetrius's wrist. The man in question breaks down into mocking laughter at that fact before telling her to be grateful he didn't just kill her. Elsie's friends rush over to her position. desperate to get her medical attention at once. Meanwhile, Akira quietly makes a request of Anthony. He wants to switch places with him so he can face Demetrius himself. However, Anthony denies his request, telling him he's no opponent for them anyways with his 70 mana, and even disregarding that, he's just had enough. He can't bear to stand by and watch anymore while others are made to suffer. At the very least, he will beat Demetrius. He has to do that much. Up in the teacher's seating area, Anthony's teacher admits he's the strongest in her class other than Akira. Down in the stands, Akira is greeted by Alistair when he comes up to him from behind, covered in bandages, from a head wrap to a neck cuff and more. When Akira asks how he is, he tells him he's better now thanks to the recovery magic. Elsie, on the other hand, well, her condition was a bit worse. Her whole cervical vertebrae were fractured from the impact of Demetrius' attack and all the previous damage she took. At Akira's horrified reaction, Alistair quickly follows that up with reassurance that he doesn't need to worry. According to the medics, she'll be back up on her feet in no time. Alistair actually wanted to stay by her side, but she sent him over to watch Anthony's fight, mainly because she plans to watch it too. Turning to the side at this statement, Akira is shocked to see LZ walking into the stands despite her terrible condition. One eye covered in bandages, a head wrap, a neck cuff, her arm in a splint and a crutch. When Akira asks if she's even allowed to be up, she sarcastically tells him that she obviously isn't. Alistair pipes up as well, telling her that this isn't right. After taking an injury to her vertebrae, she has to take this more seriously. Elsie just smiles though and says one thing: how can she miss the moment when Anthony finally gets revenge for all their pain? Out on the field, the next match is starting. The fourth match's announcements begin. Under the blue banner, the assistant captain, Anthony Green. Under the red banner, the avant-garde, Demetrius Fonwell. Though the latter is clearly drained from Elsie's actions, he doesn't waste a moment before talking some trash. He refers to Anthony as Baker and asks him if he's happy that his friends use all their underhanded tactics to try and weaken him for this match. After all, he believes Akira is just a decorative member, so his last true opponent here is Anthony. However, Demetrius then reveals his secret weapon that he's been saving specifically for Anthony. Facing his palm upwards, some flames start swirling as Demetrius announces the name of this move: Ixodus Fabian da Madler Catus, a powerful middle-class fire magic. Elsie yells out in concern for Anthony, but it's too late. With the smuggest of smiles on his face, Demetrius shoots his attack forward and declares Anthony was stupid to think he could stand up to him with his elementary class summons. A moment later, Demetrius' attack bursts into a boundless firestorm, the Ixodus Catus Flame. Anthony's allies are all shocked and worried, while the other spectators are just impressed by the flames. Down on the field though, Demetrius' smug expression is suddenly wiped off his face as he realizes something. Anthony isn't burning. All of a sudden and at once, the firestorm is blown away and dissipated by a powerful twist of wind. As the spectators' eyes go wide, Anthony calls out to Demetrius. It's just his bad luck that his trump card was a firestorm of all things. With something like that, there's no way for him to get through the windy obstacle known as middle-class Jin. The red team are absolutely aghast at what they've just heard. A middle-class Jin summoning from a simple common man. How is that possible? Demetrius' own face betrays the exact same feelings in question. Seeing this, Anthony speaks up as the dust from the earlier attack clears. Why are they all so surprised? He's a silver-ranked summoner after all. It shouldn't be anything out of the ordinary at all for him to have a contract of such caliber. There's nothing unusual about it at all, in fact. Then his expression switches from calm and collected to fiery anger at the drop of a hat, and he fires Jin's attack. The spectators' jaws hang wide open, and even the teachers and prince are left speechless at what they're seeing. Anthony has just launched the Forbidden Blades of Wind, Ixid Wind Blast. The red team members are shocked at the middle-class wind magic being put on display before them. Meanwhile, Alistair and Elsie are full of concern, not for Anthony, but his opponent. With Demetrius' mana already low from Elsie's move and his own usage, how does he plan to get out of this? For his part, Demetrius is enraged at the position he's been put in and what this looks like. Screaming out, he orders them not to make fun of him and prepares his own spell. Fabian da Muddler Earthquake and Rubian da Muddler Hold. He uses earth magic to bring up a powerful earth shield before him. The teachers are impressed with his ability to put up earth magic barriers as well, but there's more to it than that. Wind Jins are known to be more powerful than any normal gifts after all. The protection afforded by a few rocks is nowhere near enough to stop Anthony's attack. Sure enough, the earth barrier is blown apart with barely any effort, leaving Demetrius wide open. Standing there, he screams out that he won't accept it. With Anthony's status and background, it's impossible to have a middle-class summoning. And on top of that, for someone of Demetrius' pedigree to lose to a mere commoner, he absolutely refuses to accept it with a manic expression of rage on his face that unsettles even his own teammates a bit. Unfortunately for him, Demetrius' rant is little more than a load of hot air. Anthony's Jin slashes right through all his defenses in a single moment. Closing in on his opponent, Anthony states that if Demetrius really feels that way, then he'll stamp proof of his abilities right on his body. As Anthony gets nearer and nearer with Jin swirling around him, Demetrius gives in and yells out that he surrenders with a terrified flinch. In the stands, everyone who's watching wonders if Demetrius really thinks he'll be let off so easily after everything he's done. The area around both fighters is engulfed in a massive explosion of wind as debris flies all over the place. Medisfina almost rises out of her seat in concern, but suddenly spots something that shocks her. In the middle of the settling chaos, Anthony stands over the fallen Demetrius, completely unarmed. He's canceled his summoning and is standing without any indication of further attacks. Looking up, Demetrius can only wonder what the hell he's doing. By withdrawing his spell, what exactly is he trying to do? Why feel sorry for his enemy? Is this all just to mock him? Instantly, Demetrius latches on to that assumption and starts raging over the fact that Anthony is trying to humiliate him. However, Anthony just asks him what he's talking about. He states that Demetrius himself said that he surrenders. The moment he did that, the fight was already over. Why in the world would he try to hurt his opponent after that? Extending his hand to Demetrius, Anthony just smiles and reminds him that they're at an honorary official competition at the Stormheim Magic Academy. Up in the stands, all of Anthony's friends have varying reactions, from smiles at his compassion to eye rolls at the show-off-like behavior. Akira has a fond smile on his own face, though throughout it all, Demetrius maintains a disgusted and humiliated expression. Without a second thought, he smacks away Anthony's outstretched hand. Demetrius stands and walks away on his own, his teeth gritted in rage as he goes. Up in the royal spectator box, Princess Medisfina has a happy smile on her face as she calls Anthony's end to the fight a real victory. From her side, though, her brother states that these are just the games of a child. Instantly, Medisfina turns to him and asks if he really intends to belittle such an impressive battle just because the winner is someone of common birth. However, the prince only has a smug smile in place as he answers that that wasn't his intention. No, it's not that he meant to belittle the fight. Rather, he feels pity for the commoners. Not for their status, but their naive ignorance. Maybe they don't understand, but he asks Medisfina if he needs to remind her what exactly makes the nobles what they are. Rather, what it means to face a true nobleman in battle. As he says this, the next opponent for the blue team to face steps out onto the field. Tom clutched to his chest, the red team's Eloy Newman enters the mix. From the time of their birth, nobles and aristocrats are granted key skills for waging wars and fighting battles. They lead their people and protect the royal family. In a field like that, where every second is a matter of life and death, having a fool in a position of command will only spell doom for his allies and subordinates. To bear that burden and be the best person for the job, that is the burden of being an aristocrat. These are the thoughts going through the red team's Eloy Newman. He despises people who don't have natural talent but work hard to get powerful anyways. In his eyes, they'll always be incompetent and cost the lives of others eventually. As he makes this declaration, Akira, Elsie, and all the other students watch on in stunned silence at the sheer steel in his voice. Up from his platform, the prince simply applauds Eloy's words and says that really is what an aristocrat should be. Next to him, Medisfina has a frown on her face that contrasts his grin. While Eloy's words about high positions having great responsibility are true, there's one thing he doesn't seem to get. That only stays true as long as the nobility see it as their duty and not as a privilege that's only for them to hoard. Down on the field, the 5th duel's announcements begin. Under the blue banner, once more, Assistant Captain Anthony Green is up. Under the red banner is Eloy Newman, who's standing in place after his little speech. As the two fighters face off, Eloy speaks once more. He says that he's at a complete loss to understand the point of their struggles. Why fight a battle where the outcome is already decided? The princess is in a losing position no matter what. By marrying abroad, she intends to distance herself from the political struggle here completely. So why in the world are they still fighting? Not only is it overwhelmingly pointless, it's also nauseatingly hypocritical as far as he's concerned. What has to happen isn't just for the princess, but for the sake of all their futures. Akira's eyes widen as he hears these words, and a strange feeling fills him. As for Anthony, he's gritting his teeth in anger at this point as he finally replies to Eloy. If Eloy finds the efforts of fools like them annoying, then he'll show him just what kind of miracles can happen if you try hard enough. Despite his mana being practically zero, he refuses to give up. He'll prove his and all his friends' resolve here and now, all the way to the end. Thrusting his arm up, Anthony performs his Jin summoning in BAM. Before anyone even knows what's happened, Anthony is crushed into the ground by a massive golem summoned by Eloy. In just a fraction of a moment, the battle is already over as all the blue team members and Medisfina watch what's happened with horrified expressions. Annie starts wailing out as tears stream down her face when the golem lifts its fist and Anthony's condition is revealed. His body crushed, blood seeping down from his head and his eyes wide in unconsciousness. Annie desperately tries to rush to his aid, wanting to help him more than anything in that moment. Alistair holds her back since the fight hasn't been declared over, but she won't be stopped. As far as Annie's concerned, this fight was absolutely absurd from the start. Even though Anthony started his spell beforehand, Eloy was just too fast to get hit first. The gulf between him and a gold-ranked summoner like Eloy feels wider than ever. Up in her seat, Medisfina and her guard watch what's happened with varying degrees of shock. From the dimensions and form of the summoned creature, they're certain it's a middle-class golem at least. Even the red team members have to admit that was brutal and all but too painful to watch. From the opposing stands, Akira calls out to Anthony and tells him this is enough. He did everything he could, but they've already lost now. He can come back. Lying on his back, Anthony feels his resolve shattering in real time. He never expected the gap between him and their enemy to be this big. He can only apologize to his friends and say that he failed to prove anything at all. When it comes down to it, perhaps you see and achieve anything off of enthusiasm and perseverance alone. And finally, as the dam breaks and tears start running, Anthony apologizes to Medisfina for losing. While he's bawling his eyes out though, something nobody expected happens. Eloy's golem lifts its foot and raises it above Anthony's beaten body. From the stands, the teachers express outrage and ask what he's doing. Anthony already gave up. In response, Eloy claims that that's absolutely right. The fight is over.